Yellow sand rolled up from the ground has crawled to his ankle and twisted. Click! The sound of something cracking sounded. Ah ah ah. In a cry of pain, the young Jonan and N.A.N fell back to the ground. Get out of here! Wu-N let out an unpleasant sound, and slammed his punch to the ground. Bang! In an instant, it seemed that explosives buried in the sand exploded. The yellow sand in the positive area exploded tens of meters in mid-air. The dozen or so ninjas wearing Sunagakure forward protector hidden in the yellow sand also showed up in one breath. What a terrible power! It is unbelievable that it was made by such a big child. Standing at the forefront is a young man with dark red hair wearing black clothes and a sand shinobi ninja suit vest. Apparently, he was about 18 years old. Wu-N looked at each other with such an expression as expected. The future fourth Kazekage, Luasha. That is, Gaara's father. When he perceives the third eye trick with the color of sight and hearing, he has already confirmed that it is the other party. Standing at the forefront of Sand Shinobi's team, Luosha took a step forward, with an indifferent expression with pride. I've heard that Konoha has a ninja who is very good at spiritualization technique, and I expected that you will definitely let him destroy us. The logistic granary of the People's Republic of China, so I've been waiting for a long time nearby, so let's use your corpses as our weapon to weaken Konoha's morale. Mediocre people who have reached the level of Jonin before they are almost 20 dare to say. Seeing Luosha's proud expression, Wu-N couldn't help but mocked. Luosha's face went dark. He was promoted to Jonin when he was less than 20 years old, and he was indeed quite good. But compared to Sunin when he was a genin at 6, Namikaze Minato was promoted to the Jonin elite at 15, which is still far behind. And seeing Wu-N, a child who seemed to be only about 5 years old, appeared on the battlefield, Luosha was certain that this was another Konoha's newly born genius. Huh, kid, you need to know, Tenten often ends up with death. With a sigh of relief, Luosha put his hands together. Quicksand waterfall. Haven't learned the sands yet? Seeing the violent sand coming like a tsunami, Wu-N's heart moved. After possessing knowledge, Wu-N feels that he has one more skill. It is also possible to roughly judge the opponent's strength through the perception of the target chakra by seeing, hearing, and color. Although I don't know if all seeing and hearing colors have this ability, or if their own seeing and hearing colors are different from ordinary ones. Anyway, Wu-N can indeed perceive it. The current Luosha's strength is only the Jonin level, and in the future, he will only be at the level of Cage level entry. When Impure World Reincarnation came out, it was even worse than second Mizu Cage, second Suchikage, and third Reikage. But the sandy land like the Kingdom of Wind is his territory, enough to increase his strength. Among the dozen Sand Shinobi behind him, more than half are Chunin elites and several Jonin. In contrast, Wu-N also brought a vegetative man and a wounded person, who seemed to have an overwhelming advantage. Facing the quicksand waterfall that almost covers the sight range, Wu-N's expression moved slightly, and he rushed directly towards the front. This scene shocked the middle-aged Jonin in the rear, and shouted in horror, "Hey, wait, what are you doing?" In the face of this scene, the term moths fighting the fire could not be more appropriate. Rosa, do you know the best way to deal with your ninjutsu, which is huge in scope but not powerful? Wu-N's voice faintly penetrated into Luosha's ears through the sand sea, causing her face to change slightly. Just a little bit of Arankar. The moment the voice fell, a penetrating attack directly pierced Shaha and rushed towards the center of Ho Luosha's eyebrows. Finger pistol shattered flash. Luosha was shocked, never expected such a kid to crack his magnet style so easily. But after all, his fighting age was twice as old as Wu-N's own age at this time, and he had long anticipated the possibility that his tricks would be cracked. The left hand made a seal with one hand, and the yellow sand at his feet quickly closed into a shield and stood in front of his face. A flash of light flashed across, and before other Sand Shinobi ninjas around could react, Wu-N quickly backed away. When the sand shield faded from the front, there was an extra blood mark about 3 centimeters long on the left cheek under Luosha's eye bag. I underestimate you. People who can become a film in the future are really not that easy to deal with. Wu-N chuckled lightly. It is true that Luosha's strength is not so amazing in the ninja world where talents are born, but it is not something that people of this age can underestimate. However, compared to Wu-N's calmness, the Sand Shinobi ninjas behind Luosha, and the Konoha Shinobi behind Wu-N were stunned. Faced with the Jonin level and even Luosha, who has the Jonin elite level in the desert home court, Wu-N actually got a bargain in the first round? Konoha is really a genius, a Jonin beside Luosha said with a tone of jealousy and envy at the same time. If other people's villages are producing talents in large numbers, then Konoha is completely producing geniuses in large numbers. Not only owns the richest land in the whole ninja world, but also owns the best ninja in the whole ninja world. How can this not make other Shinobu village jealous? Kill him. Originally, Luosha's target this time was mainly N.A.N, a troublesome figure who possessed the spiritualization technique. But after hitting Wu-N's move, he decided to change the first goal. This kid, when he grows up, is definitely the second White Fang. No, even worse than it is. Hey, uncle, just leave the two wounded and retreat. Seeing that the hatred was attracted to him, Wu-En said with his back to the middle-aged Jonin. According to Orochimaru's order, Kato-Dan did not wake up, so he was appointed as the captain of the team. Do you want to abandon your companions? The middle-aged Jonin frowned tightly, while his tone was a bit unbearable. But what made him even more unexpected was that a 5-year-old genin could abandon his companion without hesitation. Shouldn't all ninja schools teach things like unity and love? I am not familiar with them, not to mention that they are already cumbersome. Wu-En's tone was calm. If it was Tsunade, Shirihong, he could go to the rescue regardless of his own safety. Even if the relationship between Might Guy and Uchiha Obito is okay, he can take risks. But now these two cumbersome. One was extremely annoying, and the other was someone he had just met. Wu-En really couldn't find any reason to risk saving them. The opponent is a combination of 5 or 6 Jonin plus nearly 10 Chunin elites. Wu-En took a lot of effort to break through, let alone add 2 burdens. If you don't leave, I don't care. The next moment, Wu-En suddenly hit the ground with a punch. With more terrifying power than before, the whole earth was shocked. Even Luosha was staggered, with a tight complexion, and quickly stabilized her body, waved and manipulated sand to attack Wu-En Rain of Quicksand. Luosha has completely shifted the attention originally placed on Kato-Dan to Wu-En. Kato-Dan is just a special Jonin who mastered a secret technique, but Wu-En grew up, at least the second Konoha's White Fang Tooth. Comparing the two, which is more important, he can even assassinate Du Ji Fengying in the future. It's too slow, this technique. Under the perception of seeing, hearing and color, the rain of sand falling overhead seemed to slow down. Wu-En just shook his body with the smallest amplitude, and accurately avoided all the rain of sand. It was like Luffy, who had returned from 2 years of practice, escaped the attacks of pacifists for the first time. This kid. Luosha's heart was even more shocked, and she was more determined to kill Wu-En completely here. And Luosha was working on Wu-En. His Jonin and Chunin were not idle, and immediately attacked Kato-Dan and other 5 Konoha shinobi. Seeing that Luosha was really killing him, Wu-En himself had no intention of playing around a long time ago. The blockbuster Sand Shinobi ninja ambushing here rushes, and the middle-aged Konoha Jonin behind them must also make a quick decision. Is it to take those 2 burdens and die here together, or to retreat immediately with a glimmer of life? However, the opportunity for them to make a choice immediately disappeared. Sand Shinobi, who had almost 3 times the number of them, gathered around, and Luosha even went out to deal with Wu-En in person. On the other side, a Jonin from Sand Shinobi took aim at Kato-Dan. The female ninja who was close to him subconsciously wanted to help in the past, but was blocked by 2 Chunin elites from Sand Shinobi. Ninfa magnet style hot. Sand Shinobi Jonin quickly shot, a weird red flash rushed out, and then it was like a sticker, wrapped in front of Kato-Dan. Coincidentally, Kato-Dan in the state of spiritualization technique, at this time, his soul returned. But since Luosha has been ambushing here in advance, he probably won't be able to succeed. At the moment when the soul returned to the body, Kato-Dan was surrounded by Sand Shinobi ninjas, and his body was stunned by the state covered by this special ninjutsu. Hey, what on earth is this? Before he could finish, the opposite Sand Shinobi Jonin made a seal with one hand and instantly output chakra. Bang! Although not surprising, a shock wave sounded enough to blow up a person's body. Wu-En looked sideways, and in the dark night, you could also see the flesh and internal organs drawing an arc in the air. Wow, how did you die? Wu-En can barely remember the original story saying that when Kato-Dan was dying and was found, his internal organs were blown up. It seems that the plot has not changed. But, it feels a bit cool for some reason, not worse than the feeling of taking the initiative. Kato-Dan was covered in blood and fell heavily on the sand. Obviously, it is impossible to save, unless he can heal himself from the Fairy of First Hokage. Do you still have time to be distracted? Kid. Luosha controlled a puff of sand and formed a giant's big hand to grab it. Your tricks can be used in group battles. If you are singled out, even if I can't beat you, I can't lose. Wu-En put his hands together, and the hand of the sand engulfed him in it. Luosha was overjoyed and suddenly squeezed her fist, hand of sand. Xiaoxiao suddenly squeezed, changing to an ordinary ninja. He would definitely get a comminuted fracture all over his body under this move. The first door, open the door open. Shave iron body. Bang! The sand hand burst open in an instant. Luosha's pupils suddenly shrank, but Wu-En had already clenched his fists and attacked at a faster rate than before. Condensed the sand into a shield to stand in front of him. Then in the next instant, Wu-En did not attack him as Luosha thought, but instead hit the ground with a punch for the 3rd time. Boom! 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 The huge destructive power directly penetrates the sand and shatters the ground. The huge, uneven, gale gusts piled up, and the whole land became distorted. And Kato-Dan, who was lying on the ground, who could not afford a moderate to severe injury, was also shaken by a strong shock wave and fell into the crack after rolling a few laps. Wu-En. The moment before falling into the crack, Kato-Dan roared with the last breath of anger and resentment. Although his internal organs were blown away, he did not give up the hope of living. As long as he could return to the base camp, he would definitely be healed by Tsunade. However, even this little hope of his own that was no longer considered hope was completely shattered by Wu-An. Sorry. I didn't mean it, Wu-An shouted back. But anyone who is not deaf can hear him, his tone is full of gloat. Uncle, if you don't go, I'm going to go. When I die, I will have nothing. Wu-An finally yelled to the middle-aged Jonin and started shave and appeared in the sky instantly. Continuous use quickly disappeared from everyone's field of vision. All Jonin will catch up. Never let him escape. Luo Xia, who was holding her body, shouted and ordered. The remaining 3 Konoha Jonin looked at them and fell to the ground, almost paralyzing the young Jonin. He gritted his teeth and ignored it, trying his best to break through Sand Shinobi's surroundings. Achieved a special achievement, the death of N.A.N, template character, Monkey D-Garp, completion, 15.22% during the escape. Wu-An's expression moved slightly. This mission should have ended in failure, but I didn't expect it to still have a degree of completion evolution. But to be honest, not much has been added. After all, N.A.N is just a dragon character. If there is no Tsunade in the original book, he would not even deserve his name. But I really didn't mean it, Wu-An muttered to himself, somewhat aggrieved. The purpose of his punch was really not to take N.A.N's life, but to give himself a chance to escape. When Wu-An hurried back to Konoha's frontline camp, the bright sun of the new day had already climbed the horizon. And less than 5 minutes after he had just stepped into the camp, 2 heavily injured figures behind him also landed in front of the camp. It is the middle-aged Jonin and female Jonin. Did you lose 3 people? But it's a blessing in misfortune, uncle. Wu-An stepped up and patted the middle-aged ninja on the shoulder. The middle-aged Jonin had no energy to say anything, and after a successful escape, he sat on the ground exhausted physically and mentally. At this moment, there was an obvious sound of footsteps. The guard ninja of the camp immediately opened the gate of the camp from below, and it was Orochimaru, Tsunade and others who returned from a frontal battle. Judging from their expressions, in all likelihood, they did not win a big victory. And to show how much sadness, I must not end the war between Konoha and Sand Shinobi in a short time. I must not end the war between Konoha and Sand Shinobi in a short time. Walking in the forefront, Orochimaru, with a lot of blood on his body, saw Wu-An and the others at the door. His eyes stagnated. On the other hand, Tsunade stepped forward and asked, just 3 people are back? Are there anyone else? Following Luosh's ambush, it's good to be able to return 3 of them. I almost can't even return to these 2. Wu-An waved his hand. Although the mission failed, there was no disappointment or frustration on his face. Lhasa set up an ambush. Orochimaru frowned. It seems that I underestimated Sand Shinobi. Compared to an Interestus like Orochimaru, Tsunade remembered the dead 3 for a while. Looking at Wu-An's heartless look, he couldn't help but hold down his curls, and said, you kid, you are so arrogant after the mission fails. Why is your face so thick? How about Konoha's war? Not allowing Wu-An to finish speaking completely, Tsunade blocked his mouth with a slap, lifted Wu-An's collar with the other hand, and ran into his camp without looking back. Puff. In Tsunade's private camp, Wu-An was severely thrown to the floor. I felt a strong sense of sleepiness, but before Wu-An went to sleep, I heard Tsunade's Hedong lion roar. Smelly boy. How can the public say such things? Do you know how much impact it will have if it is spread out? Can't you remember White Fang's lesson? Wu-An waved his hand. I don't care how others talk about me, the big deal is to leave Konoha. Even if others discredit Wu-An as 10 times that of White Fang, he would not care at all. At most, like the 2 Chunin before, beat them violently. Even if it reaches that point, Wu-An will not hesitate to leave Konoha. But this is not the case at present. After all, the days in Konoha are quite moist. Tsunade sighed, and said nothing. She is not Sarutobi Hiruzen's will to fire MLM salesperson. As long as Wu-An does not deliberately harm the village where her grandfather left, Tsunade will not interfere with his thoughts. Less than 10 seconds later, the rhythmic snoring sounded. Seeing this, Tsunade was taken aback, and said angrily, boy, this is my bed. Master Tsunade, we have extracted a sample of the new poison made by Cho. Please check it out. At this moment, a medical ninja under Tsunade said outside the door. You're lucky. With a grunt, Tsunade turned and walked out of the camp. 3 months passed in a flash. During this period, Cho and Tsunade secretly fought back and forth at least 10 times in the 2 aspects of drug production and solution. Every time Cho invents a new poison, Tsunade can always create an antidote as quickly as possible. In the end, this battle between poisoning and detoxification ended in Tsunade's overall victory. In terms of warfare, Sand Shinobi was originally a village lacking logistics resources. Even though 3rd Kazekage is known as the strongest wind shadow, Orochimaru is not a vegetarian. What's more, the Konoha Shinobi army's overall combat power is also better than Sand Shinobi. Now in the country of Rain, Jiraiya has completely cleared the battlefield of the country of Rain, and will be here in the near future. And seeing the opportunity to finally end the war has arrived. Sarutobi Hiruzen finally revoked Heitake Sakumo's ban, but he did not restore his official duties and rushed to the battlefield of the Kingdom of Wind as an ordinary jonin, in order to end the war quickly. With these two people, there are 4 cage-level masters gathered in one breath. Sand Shinobi is absolutely unstoppable. Wuen knew that in the Second Ninja World War, he was not the protagonist after all. When he shines, he will finally wait for the Third Ninja World War. And a month ago, he finally got the chance to go to the battlefield. In just 1 month, Garp's progress template was increased to 18.5%. When? In a forest not far from Konoha camp, the piercing clash of sounds continued to sound. Wuen fell from midair and slid back about 5 meters before stopping on the ground. In front of him, a blue flash came suddenly. Upon seeing this, Wuen immediately folded his hands in front of him. Iron body. With the Thunder Attribute Chakra attached to the sword hit Wuen's arm, once again making a scalp-tingling sound. Blue light burst out from Wuen's fingers, brushing the blade and stabbing forward. Finger Pistol Thunder Ya. Finger Pistol, attached to the blue and white thunder light, instantly pierced the abdomen of the figure in front of him. In the next second, the figure in front of Wuen turned into thunder and disappeared without a trace. I defeated my lightning-style shadow clone so quickly, and what realm you will reach in the future, I really can't believe it. White Fang walked out from behind a big tree next to him, smiled and exclaimed. The smile turned into gratitude, and White Fang said again, I would like to thank you for the incident before. If it weren't for you, it reminds me that my impulse will make Kakashi an orphan. I am afraid I am already in another world. I just think it's a pity that Konoha's White Fang has learned about it with that awkward way of death. Wuen told the truth. White Fang couldn't help but smile, barely understanding why his son was so troubled with the other party. Master White Fang. Sand Shinobi's army has attacked from all sides. At this moment, a Konoha Chunin ran over to report. With the arrival of Jiraiya and White Fang, it is almost certain that the war between Konoha and Sand Shinobi has come to an end. Even Third Kazekage, known as the strongest wind shadow, plans to withdraw its troops under great pressure. Only Cho, the old woman who lost her son and daughter-in-law in this war, desperately blocked Third Kazekige's idea of retiring. Now that White Fang has come to the battlefield, it is more in line with her wishes. Like a madman, desperately opposed to the withdrawal. You must find White Fang for revenge. Third Kazekage can also tell that Cho simply wants to avenge his son and daughter-in-law, regardless of Sand Shinobi's own interests. Naturally, he was extremely angry. However, Cho, as a disciple of the first-generation puppet masterman Zaman, has a very high status in the village. Compared with Konoha's Shimura Danzo, it can be said that it is only high and not low. Third Kazekage didn't dare to act rashly, but with the helplessness facing the strength, more and more people are looking at the problem rationally. Both agreed with Third Kazekige's decision to retire. Enraged, Cho put down his words directly, claiming that he would conduct another full-scale attack on Konoha. As long as you promise yourself, no matter whether you succeed or not, after you return to the village, you will resign as an elder, retreat behind the scenes, and no longer ask about the affairs of the village. Cho's take out this transaction can be said to be a blockbuster dropped by the top of Sand Shinobi. You know, she is the master. Sand Shinobi has great power at the top. Once she retires, it is naturally Third Kazekage who will benefit the most. Under such a huge temptation, Third Kazekage finally agreed to launch another full-scale attack on Konoha, and Cho also put all his power into this war, intending to make a desperate move. Must kill White Fang. A battlefield of yellow sand. Wuen stood beside White Fang, faintly looking towards the other side. The dense clusters of small dots came back here, and as they approached, everyone finally saw clearly that Sand Shinobi's army rushed towards them frantically. Headed by the 2 cage-level powerhouses, Third Kazekage and Cho. They are here, ready to fight. Orochimaru, the commander-in-chief, said together. Uncle, the crazy woman Cho will leave it to you. I am the least good at dealing with old and crazy women. Wuen joked. Your kid, the war is like that, she wants to take my life, she has to have this ability first. White Fang smiled helplessly, then drew his saber. The powerful aura that belonged to the pinnacle of cage level burst out, and the 1,000 generations who vowed to seek revenge against White Fang were all under pressure. Konoha's White Fang. Sure enough, just as Wuen said, Cho used her stunt from the beginning to 10 people near Song, roaring towards White Fang. There was a crazy cry in his mouth. Seeing her appearance, Wuen sighed that she couldn't provoke her. But in the next second, he already had the aura of Hero Garp, which also made the ninja tremble and rushed into Sand Shinobi's army. Bone broken. With Wuen's drink, he punched. Bump! In an instant, with Wuen's body as the center, within a radius of 10 meters, dozens of Sand Shinobi were knocked into the sky by the impact of the fist, like a broken kite. Crack it! Click it! Wuen clenched his fists, squeezed his knuckles and made a crackling sound. Okay, let's do it. If anyone in the One Piece world sees this scene, they will almost certainly feel emotional. This fighting style is really like Garp. Boom! Suddenly, an orange fireball the size of a basketball hit from the right. Upon seeing this, Wu-Wen calmly turned his head back and avoided the fireball. After being avoided by Wu-Wen, the orange fireball looked like a tracking missile. Tracking type, Wu-Wen said to himself. Iron body broken. Opened his palms to face the fireball that struck again, acting like an inch fist in Wing Chun. The small arms that were not thick exploded with amazing power, smashing the fireball into sparks. What a power! Then, how old is that kid? The other ninjas in the surrounding clashes, not only Sand Shinobi, but also many people in Konoha were frightened. However, the intended spark was not dissipated by the breeze. Instead, it reunited into a fireball and flew back to the owner. Wu-Wen looked up and found that it was a young woman who was not much younger than Namikaze Minato. He has a G-style hairstyle with green on the head and orange on the bottom. The facial features are cold and correct. Although not as good as Tsunade and Yurihon, she is also a rare beauty ninja. Very peculiar ninjutsu is that the limit of blood succession, Wu-Wen asked with a curious smile. The female ninja was silent, but coldly controlled the 4 fireballs. Those fireballs hovered around her body as if they were alive, exuding a higher temperature than normal fire style. Be careful, she is Sand Shinobi's scorch style user Yakang. A Konoha Chunin reminded him loudly. I am not interested in women who are indifferent. Wu-Wen joked. Call. Inspired by 4 scorch style fireballs, Wu-Wen's figure disappeared instantly. After a second, Yakang looked behind him. Wu-Wen has appeared behind him. I don't usually hit women, but it's different for women who want to kill me. Wu-Wen squeezed his fist again, revealing white fang in his mouth. Can your flame burn my fist? Call. 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 The flames whizzed through the air by the harshness of the impact. I don't know if Tsunagakur is a ninja who is rich in this type of control stuff. The sand of Gaara and Rosa, the iron sand of 3rd Kaze Cage, the puppet of Sasori of Cho and the red sand, and the scorch style of Hakura in front of me. But to be honest, your skills are slower than that of Luo Xia, poker face woman. Passing easily by the fireball, a punch containing terrifying energy rushed to Yakang's face, which is not stunning, but also very cold. Yakura still looked cold, but not as bad as Kakashi used to owe him 8 million. With a wave of both hands as if controlling the puppet, the fireballs that were avoided by Wu-Wen turned and rushed again. Please, didn't I say that this kind of thing is useless to me? Obviously he was facing away, but Wu-Wen seemed to have eyes behind his back, leaning sideways to avoid the fireball flying from behind. Luo Xia, who was fighting with Jiraiya in the distance, happened to see this scene, and couldn't help but said in amazement, this kid, he has eyes behind his back. Perception? No, it's not. Yakang finally spoke. She thought Wu-Wen felt a ninja when she was, but it was not right. Sensing a ninja is at most perceiving the enemy's chakra position, and when perceiving, you need to stop all other actions and concentrate on searching for the target. It is impossible to achieve such precision in battle. So far, only the Ikugen of the Hyaga family should be able to do this. However, Yakang did not give up his attack because of this. With a turn of his index fingers, 4 scorch-style fireballs attacked at the same time from 4 different angles. Please, I've said it all, your tricks are too easy to see through. Breathing out lightly, his right fist was tight. Bone-broken meteor. Fist hit the ground hard. The explosive force shattered the entire land, and the intense air pressure exploded like explosives along with the rocks inside. The huge stones formed by the shattered ground flew up in one breath, forming a defensive wall, blocking Wu-Wen's body. I'm almost approaching Tsunade, right? What's the matter with that kid's fist? At this time, even Jiraiya couldn't calm down. Of course, he has not seen the trick developed by Tsunade in the future that can crush the mature body Susanoo, the Baihao technique praised by Uchiha Madara. But even this is scary enough, right? A 5-year-old kid who is barely 6 years old, his explosive power is comparable to Tsunade? Tekken Garp, this nickname really deserves its reputation. Yakang was forced to retreat continuously, countless small stones scraped on her skin, even like bullets, adding many blood holes on it. Blood succession limits? Secret art? I don't understand those things. Slowly walking out of the center of the land that was beaten to ruins, Wu-Wen flashed his fist and burst out with the majestic chakra that was not inferior to the Senju clan. The key is that this is strong enough, isn't it enough? Wu-Wen, who has nearly 20% of Garp's strength, has already shown the demeanor of the future marine hero. But with his own evolution, Wu-Wen also gradually discovered that basic training is becoming more and more difficult for the growth of the template. The previous basic training can increase by 0.01% on average every day. But during this period, it will take almost a few days to grow that much. That's why Wu-Wen asked White Fang to assist in training. No wonder, even Garp himself. As his strength grew, basic and simple training became more and more difficult to satisfy his physical fitness. Just like Luffy, he also made breakthroughs from time and time again with opponents stronger than himself. Until I knew the existence of haki, I entered training again, and got another qualitative breakthrough. Compared with basic training, Wu An has to do more to fight against powerful enemies. However, Kang did not disappoint Wu An, locked up with a seal he had never seen before. The surrounding fireballs turned into stars and spread out, like fireflies, and began to float around Wu An and several other Konoha shinobi. The stars are shining, but it is quite dazzling. What's this? To coax the child, Wu An said with a laugh. But the next second, he noticed something was wrong. The other Konoha shinobi all around showed painful colors, and the sound of mist like water vapor emerged from the surface of the body. Finally, die like a mummy. Scorch style over steaming, Kang Ji-in said coldly. Using the scattered scorch style to evaporate the water in the human body into a mummy, it has the same principle as Deodara's C4 Garuda. It's gorgeous, I don't have such a gorgeous trick. Feeling that his body was also in a state of scorching heat, Wu An smiled mysteriously at the same time his lips were dry. Boom! One more punch hit the ground. But there is no previous earth-shattering, and weird, the split gaps are connected one after another, forming an irregular circle about half the size of a football field. Wu An shouted loudly and pulled his hands into the cracks. Difficult, can it be said, then, that kid wants to? Jiraiya's eyes widened, and he had vaguely guessed what Wu An wanted to do. Can you catch it? In the next instant, Wu An directly pulled up a huge rock half the size of a football field. Although not as scary as the Diamond George, the volume contrast is also quite that a grasshopper lifts an elephant. About 2 hours later, Wu An stood among the large group of Konoha shinobi, sitting on a rock full of blood. He doesn't care, anyway, his clothes at this time are not very clean. After more than 2 hours of war, the war was finally defeated by Sand Shinobi, which declared the end of the Second Ninja War. The surrounding Konoha shinobi were all sorting out the remains of their companions, or receiving medical ninja treatment. And Wu An is sitting on the rock, digesting the new evolution from the system. Achieved a special achievement end of the war template character Monkey D. Garp, completion 19.3%, activation skill armament haki, activation special ability Unreal Land. I thought that with this war, I could break through 20% of the progress in one go. But in the end, the strongest opponent he faced was only Jonan's level. Therefore, the progress of the rise is not as exaggerated as imagined. However, although the progress value did not rise so terribly, Wu An got 2 magical skills. Naturally, armament haki needless to say, and as the armed color of Garp standing at the top of the world of One Piece, let alone doubt it's terrible. And another new system ability, the Realm of Illusion. The effect is similar to the spiritual time house in Dragon Ball, in a spiritual space that comes with the system. According to the experience of the template characters, you can simulate the opponents they have encountered in practice in this spiritual space. To put it plainly, Wu An can practice with Garp's young, middle-aged, and old opponents. For example, those great pirates Golden Lion Shijiji, World Destroyer Bandy World, and even One Piece Roger, etc. This can completely solve the problem that Wu An's basic training can no longer satisfy his progress as his strength increases. Hey, boy, what a good job, I was scared by you. After taking care of the battlefield, Jiraiya stepped up to greet Wu An. Sand Shinobi's blood succession-bound ninja Yekara, who was defeated by Wu An, was not enough to look at his Jonin in front of his cage level. But he was defeated by a kid who was not nearly 6 years old. Especially just now, Wu An smashed the ground directly, pulling up a huge boulder half the size of a football field and throwing it towards the opposite side. Now in the hearts of Jiraiya and others, it is still playing back. I must be unhappy to be praised by a man. If you want to praise me, it's better to give something affordable. After digesting the new functions of the system, Wu An jumped off the rock and picked up his finger at Jiraiya, saying, you kid, it's not cute at all, it's far from Minato. Jiraiya was unhappy. When he glanced at the ear pendant that originally belonged to Tsunade before Wu An hung, Jiraiya's heart was moved again, and he shook his head and said, get ready to go back to Konoha. What? Wu An nodded. The war finally ended. With so many wounded, everyone was not so rushed. Originally, the ninja only needed 3 days to move forward at full speed, and it took 10 days to go back. When Wu An and Sunin and other Konoha army returned to the ninja village, they naturally received a warm welcome and excited cheers from all the villagers. Most of the villagers are calling out the names of Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sama, and Orochimaru-sama. Because of White Fang's serious mistakes, although he did not commit suicide, the popularity of the village has dropped a lot. But in Wu An's view, not dead is enough. Amidst the cheers of the villagers, Wu An also heard a handful of people call out the names of himself and Namikaze Minato. But obviously, the protagonist of the Second Ninja War is still Konoha Sunin. The two of them, who were newcomers who made their official debut at the end of the war, have to wait until the next time if they want to shine. Junior brother Wu An, I heard about what happened to you this time. It's really amazing. He went to the battlefield at such a young age and defeated Jonin. After the welcome ceremony, Sunin and White Fang both went to the Hokage office and reported to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Just when Wu-An was about to go back, he was 10 years older than Wu An. As a disciple of Jiraiya, Namikaze Minato took the initiative to step forward and greeted Wu An. With the sunny smile of the opponent, Wu-An also understands the reason why the opponent can defeat Orochimaru in 4th Hokage's campaign. Where else, Brother Minato, I would like to check with you if I have a chance. Wu-An smiled. The father of the future son of destiny. Minato. In stall, at almost the same time, behind them, the girl and Loli, who were also about 10 years apart, ran towards this side, calling their names. Nine Tails Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Kushina. Wu-An's classmates, the evening is red. And the first words of the two women ran were very similar. Minato, are you okay on the battlefield? I heard that you performed a lot of difficult tasks. And, haven't you been injured? During this time Sorry, Kushina, I worried you. Namikaze Minato smiled slightly and greeted him with an apology. Wu-An has the completely opposite character, waiting for Shirihong to run over, smirking and saying, I just said, I didn't let you be a widow. Ziri's red eyes stared roundly, and her little hand slammed Wu-An's muscles as hard as steel. Can't you learn how others speak? Kushina Tsundere raised her neck when she heard Yurihong's words, showing off like, how gentle is my boyfriend. Wu-An contemptuously said, this kind of person will become a combination of hidonchi and strict wife management. What do I need to learn? Namikaze Minato laughed awkwardly. In any case, it is too shameless to be said to be strictly governed by his wife in person? But Kushina widened her eyes in anger, staring at Wu An. Although she didn't know what Hidon Lion meant, it was obvious that it was not a good thing. Gurulu, the sound of thunder from Wu-An's abdomen broke the awkward atmosphere. The boyfriend who has just returned from the battlefield is on the side, and Kushina is not good at showing her side as a Xin blood red pepper. After a dry cough, she took a picture of Uzainpyu, who has no 2 or 2 flesh, and said, although it is not very cute, little devil, but as a senior, I will treat you to a meal. That, Kushina. Upon hearing this, Namikaze Minato had an expression that hesitated to speak. Although he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he had also heard some rumors about Wu-An's appetite from Jiraiya. However, Wu-An did not let go of this opportunity, and said with a strange smile, really, of course, who do you think sister is? Kushina, who has 2 similarities with Tsunade's personality, said with great arrogance. Half an hour later, a sushi restaurant in Konoha. Looking at the 5 hills of dishes on the dining table, the flying smile on Kushina's face has long since disappeared without a trace. At the same time, my heart kept dripping blood. Sorry, guest, I have run out of ingredients today. At this time, a waiter from a sushi restaurant came up with a calm expression on his face. An expression with Shirihong, who was sitting next to Wu An. The incumbent, they are all the same, it's not just the first time they have seen such a scene. Wu-An patted his slightly bulged lower abdomen, with a forgetful expression, and nodded and said, no matter, it's enough to eat 7 minutes full. Kushina almost bleeds. At the checkout, Kushina's hands with the money from the wallet were shaking. Namikaze Minato walked up with a smile, took out a stack of banknotes and handed it over. The 4 of them walked out of the sushi restaurant. Wu-An waved his hands and said, thank you for the hospitality, 2 elder sisters, if you have a chance next time. Before Wu-An could finish speaking, Kushina pulled Namikaze Minato's sleeves and ran away as if to avoid the plague. Wu-An shrugged, tisk, that's true, I originally seemed to say, I'll call back if I have a chance. Shirai gave him a red and white look, come on, when did you call back? It has been nearly a year since I met. I watched Wu-An Sengfen more often, and I really haven't seen him call back. Haha, turning a blind eye to Shirihong's contempt, Wu-An stretched and yawned and said, I feel sleepy when I'm full. Are you a pig? Sleep when you are full. Shirihong contemptuously said again. Go, let me introduce you a good place. Wu-An suddenly took Shirihong's hand and ran out of the village, the lakeside training ground outside Konoha village, under the shade of a big tree. Listening to the sound of the running water beside the lake, Wu-An lay on the red legs with a little blush on his face. A little panic. Lying on Shirihong's lap, Wu-An said inwardly, it feels completely different from those in novels or anime. The current Shirihong is indeed very thin, there is no meat on his legs, and it is not so comfortable to lie down. But Wu-An is not as stupid as Luffy to say such a thing. Otherwise, this Nizai will disregard the overwhelming disparity in strength and throw Wu-An into the opposite river. The blush on her face gradually passed over time, and Shirihong told Wu-An a lot of recent events in the ninja school. The first is that Kakashi graduated from ninja school at the age of 6 a month ago. When Wu-An heard it, he knew that because of his own relationship, White Fang was not dead, and Kakashi was not stimulated so much. Therefore, the graduation time was slightly delayed. As a result, the record holder who graduated the fastest from the ninja school changed from Kakashi to himself. Although this useless record Wu-An doesn't care at all. Secondly, Wu-An went to the battlefield. After Kakashi graduated, many students with higher grades in the class were also stimulated. including Yu Hong himself, Might Guy, Shiranui Genma, Ebisu, Saratobi Asuma, Rin Nohara, and even Uchiha Obito, the Crane Tail. Both plan to complete the ninja school graduation within 2 years. Can you help me train? When she said that she wanted to graduate next year, Shirihong pursed her lower lip and asked. Wu En's pupils condensed. I don't know how to illusion, how can I help? If it is to practice physical skills, Yuri Zhenhong, the Jonin elite, is also completely enough. What is the reason for Yuri Hong's request? As long as the emotional intelligence of Luffy and Naruto is not as low, it can be guessed. Okay. Wu En chuckled lightly. Real, Yuri blushed with surprise. Wu En laughed blankly. The sunset in the afternoon shattered down, forming a sense of laziness. Wu En changed his posture and let the back of his head rest on Shirihong's belly, so that he was more comfortable. Feeling the warmth from the abdomen, the blush that had just faded from Shiarai's blushing face climbed up again. But still nothing stopped. The two of them kept this posture and fell asleep slowly. After the report to Saratobi Hiruzen with Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and White Fang against the Second Ninja War, when Tsunade came out of the Hokage building, he found that Wu En, the kid, was not waiting for him at the door, which was quite uncomfortable. Afterwards, the ninja on patrol said that Wu En and Shirihong walked to the training ground outside the village, and only then did they know where they were. When I arrived, I found that this kid was riding in the shade of the tree, lying on the little girl's lap, and fell asleep. Tsunade was unhappy for a while. He heard something from Saratobi Hiruzen, so he rushed over to find this kid anxiously, but he enjoyed it very much. He pulled Wu En's ears up, and instantly awakened the two of them. Seeing Wu En sleeping on her body was discovered, Yurihong immediately entered Hinata mode and buried her face in her hands. What the hell? Tsunade! Wu En turned his head fiercely, and finally got rid of Tsunade's iron claws. Tsunade snorted, his expression serious. I have something very important to tell you, kid. Halfway through, Tsunade looked sideways at Yurihong. After all, he was born in a ninja family, and Yurihong instantly understood what Tsunade meant and said, it's getting late, I have to go home. See you later, and, Tsunade-sama. With that said, Shirihong trot out of the training ground quickly. Suddenly, only Wu En and Tsunade were left on the huge lawn. Am I disturbing the two-person world between you and your little girlfriend? Tsunade said with a non-smiling expression. Wu En fixed his eyes on Tsunade's long legs. Actually, I haven't got enough sleep yet. It doesn't matter if you can replace it. It is different from the slender legs that the average woman pursues. The same there, Tsunade's figure is the type that a man dreams of most. Washing on the premise of not getting fat, it is full of sensuality, and it is definitely more comfortable than Shirai read when lying on it. Boom! Tsunade hummed a fist on Wu En's shoulder. I haven't used chakra to cover and protect my fist, but I felt a little pain in my fist when I threw it up. Of course, Tsunade, who has a strong character, naturally did not show this, and threatened, you could dare to say this again, let's see how I can deal with you. Wu En sat directly on the lawn, patted and motioned Tsunade to sit down too, and asked, what the hell is going on? Tsunade sat opposite Wu En, gave him an angry look, and said, you went to White Fang's house to find him before, and it was indeed seen by the root ninja. According to the third-generation old man, now he looks at you. But it's very uncomfortable. So, you want someone to assassinate me? Wu En asked rhetorically. The set of dealing with White Fang's rumors has no effect on Wu En. To be honest, apart from assassination, Wu En really couldn't think of any other way Danzo could fix himself. I don't have any family members anymore. The ones who are relatively close are Tsunade, Shirihong, and Might Guy. Danzo could still catch them and threaten him. In that case, you don't need to take the action personally, just tell Saratobi Hiruzen directly, and Saratobi Hiruzen can handle the mess. In recent years, the political differences between the two have grown. Saratobi Hiruzen is also looking for ways to reduce Danzo's huge power. If there is a chance to be delivered to your door, how can Saratobi Hiruzen let it go? Tsunade said, the old guy has so many methods that you can't even think of it. You, a kid with no family background, should be more careful. From now on, you can live with me. It should also reduce a lot of possible accidents. Although only a nominal disciple, Tsunade believes that Danzo has no guts to attack Wu En. But the old thing's ability to play dirty tricks is absolutely first-rate, and no one as strong as White Fang almost died in his hands. Tsunade thought it was better to be alert, so he decided to let Wu En move out of his ruined house and live in his own home. Cohabitation? Wu En asked rhetorically. The ghost lives with you, just to save your kid's life. If it didn't feel like shooting on a rock just now, Tsunade almost couldn't help but slap Wu En again. Regarding Tsunade's proposal, Wu En agreed without hesitation. After all, I don't say that I can live with Tsunade. As the luxurious mansion of Princess Senju, just living in is an absolute enjoyment. No matter which way you think about it, there is no reason to refuse. An hour later, Wu En and Tsunade came to the mansion where she lived. Tsunade pointed to a room next to him and threatened with angrily, you can live in my brother's room. My room is opposite. If you dare to come in deliberately or accidentally, I will kill you. No, I live there. Without saying anything, Wooin slipped into the room next to Tsunade. He doesn't want to be a substitute for Senju Noeki. It's better to stay away from everything about him. Seeing Wooin slipping away from the back, Tsunade stomped his feet angrily, but was helpless. 1.5 years passed. Before I knew it, time came to Kanaha's 41st autumn. Although becoming Genin Wooin is one step faster than Kakashi. However, they became Chunin in the same year. Just last year, the two people who were originally classmates but graduated early formed a two-person team and became Chunin. On the way, basically they did their own things. Fortunately, Chunin did not pay attention to teamwork in the exam, and both of them became Chunin smoothly. Although the absence of White Fang made Kakashi's character at this time not so extreme, but it was still the look that everyone owed him 8 million, which still made Wooin not want to have too much contact with this guy. On the other hand, Shirihong knew that Wooin moved into Tsunade's house and did not show the taste of the anime heroine. I am afraid she did not think about it. After all, the age gap between Wooin and Tsunade is still there. During this period of time, while Wooin accompanied Shirihong to train in his spare time, he also entered the realm of illusion and fought against the formidable enemies that Garp had faced. Of course, the opponents faced are all adjusted according to Wooin's current level. After all, at his current level, he would fight opponents like Roger and Golden Lion. That is simply a fantasy. For Shirihong's training, he basically watched from the side. After all, Wooin doesn't know much about illusion skills. Most of the time, it was her father Shiri Zhenhong who taught, and Wooin was watching. Then, when Yurihong is resting, she joked with Yurihong in the eyes of Yuri Zhenhong who wanted to hit people. End of the second semester. Headed by Yurihong, Might Guy, Rin Nohara, Saratobi Asuma, and Uchiha Obito, these students are familiar with the original work. I also signed up one after another, hoping to graduate early. Wooin remembers that in the original book Zhonghong didn't seem to have graduated with people like Might Guy. Probably it was her own reasons, which led to her further growth compared to the original, so she chose to graduate earlier. Today, Yuri True and Fared went out to perform the mission. Wooin and Shirihong exercise at the lakeside training ground. After finishing basic physical skills training, I wet my handkerchief in the lake water and wiped the sweat from my forehead. Yurihong got up and ran back, and said to Wooin, who had been sitting in the shade, and tomorrow is the Genin exam, I will definitely be qualified. 1.5 years passed. Shirihong quarreled with Wooin less and less like when she first met. Turns to become gentle and strong, like the grown-up character in the original book. To be honest, Wooin is a bit regretful. Well, come on. Although not as idiot as Luffy, Wooin's own prostitutes are not very good, and can't speak many romantic love words. Fortunately, the effect of love words depends entirely on whether the woman has a good impression of you. If she likes you, you will increase her favorability even if she is a local turtle. If she hates you, it's useless to kneel down and add shoes to her. As for red to Wooin, it belongs to the former. Although his encouragement is simply a representative of a straight man of steel, Hong listened with joy, smiled sweetly, and sat beside Wu and seeing that the red practitioner's breathing was still a little short after the operation, Wu handed her the water bottle prepared next to her. When the red opened and smelled the smell inside, he couldn't help but be a little doubtful. Why is it papaya N.A.N again? I don't know why, every time physical training is over, Wu likes to drink this for himself. It's better than drinking other things, right? Wu is a straightforward Kaido. Although it is heard from the past life, but drinking plain water has no effect anyway, so why not drink papaya N.A.N? I also vaguely guessed some of the other's dirty thoughts in his heart. After a red and white glance, he opened his mouth slightly and drank most of it. After the training is over, Shirihong is sent back to the door. Seeing that face that has matured a lot compared to 2 years ago, Wooin took the initiative to nibble on her tender red apple face more than once. Yurihong immediately ran back into the house more than once, embarrassed. Afterwards, Wooin returned to the residence where Tsunade lived with him. As soon as he arrived at the door, Wooin found several people blocking the door with paper slips, and at the top of the paper list is written 2 big words IOU. As soon as they saw Wooin, the few people rushed up instantly, babbling at Wooin. Is it a disciple of Master Tsunade? Master owes our casino 9 million taels. Please pay within 2 days. What are you? She owes 15 million taels to us before she should pay it back. What are the two of you? She has been delayed for more than 2 years for the money we owed at our casino, and must pay it back today. Seeing these people getting more and more uproarious, Wooin's eyebrows twitched, and he didn't know if he had used it several times, and said, she went out to perform an S-level mission. Go to the country of T. Find it yourself. Bar. When several people heard it, they were stunned. Why? How is this? When will she come back? A casino debt collector frowned. Who knows, no one can tell how long the S-level mission will take. It can be a few weeks, maybe a few months, or even a year. It's not impossible. Come again when that time comes. Wooin impatiently ordered to evict the guest. How is this? When Wooen said this, everyone stopped doing it. What? It means you want me to go to your casino to gamble 2 rounds. Wooen chuckled, and then asked maliciously. As soon as this was said, the faces of the debt collectors changed drastically. Because in gambling, Wooen and Tsunade, the 2 masters and apprentices, are completely extreme. Tsunade will lose every bet. Wooen always wins every time a bet. Although due to Wooen's intervention, N.A.N's death did not bring any blow to Tsunade. But her gambling-like personality seems to be inherited from Senju Hashirama, and she can't change it. However, every time Tsunade owes huge gambling debts, Wooen comes forward to resolve these issues. Of course, Wooen is not going to pay back the money. He just went to win money, and he came back after winning about the same amount that Tsunade owed. It is also a unique way to pay back money. There is only one way to gamble every time Wooen goes to play, and that is dice. With the current observation haki, he can easily lock the dice to stop on that side. With this trick, Wooen has no disadvantages in the casino. Although every time Wooen heard about the amount owed by Tsunade, he stopped betting, but the major casinos in the Country of Fire were afraid of him. If Wooen rises up and wants to make a fortune in their casino, wouldn't they have to lose their money? This sentence was released, and all those who came to collect debts would not say anything, just lift the pants and ran away. I'm afraid that Wooen will really come to their casino and lose them all. After entering the courtyard, Wooen shouted into the house, "Come out, female gambler." Who is the female gambler? Be polite to the master. Tsunade, who had been hiding at home until now, saw that all the debt collectors had gone, and finally walked out. Thinking of the gambling debts he owed in the major casinos in the Country of Fire, Tsunade held Wooen, who had grown a lot taller in the past 2 years, in his arms, and said with a smile, "But your kid really has a hand, please this time too." Every time she owes money, she asks Wooen to solve it, which is about to become a habit for Tsunade. Feeling the amazing softness of the stickers on the back, Wooen said that if he was not 8 years old, it was still not enough. He directly threatened with this and took you. Although Wooen's appetite is amazing, because Tsunade is no longer the same as before, he has to spend all the rewards of the task into the huge gambling debt, so the days of going out to hunt in the Konoha forest every night are gone forever. Tsunade once asked Wooen why he possessed such a skill of losing every gambling, but he was unwilling to directly use this trick to directly go to the casino to earn some living expenses. In this regard, Wooen said, "How can playing poker with dice be used to stimulate people with fists?" Tsunade was extremely speechless. However, Tsunade's preference for gambling is not for money, she is also for excitement. I can only say that everyone has different preferences. Using a large bowl with a large face and a small face, Wooen directly used a rice spoon to throw the rice in the bowl into his mouth. It contrasts sharply with Tsunade, who eats with small mouthfuls. At this moment, Tsunade suddenly remembered something and said, "By the way, it's the graduation season, right? There seems to be a lot of capable students in your class. There should be a lot of students preparing to graduate early, right?" Wooen thought about it after he was cooking rice, and said, "I almost forgot. I am going to put Hong under your hand. The third person can insert one or not, please tell the old man of 3rd generation. Your kid is really for private use." Recently, the relationship with the girl in Ziri's family is getting better and better. Tsunade was speechless. "Don't worry, I'll still consider you for Dafang." Wooen shook half of the bucket out of the rice bucket and put it into his big bowl. "Get out, dead kid. Look for a beating, right?" Tsunade yelled, but for some reason, when Wooen uttered this sentence, his eyes that could have been staring at each other for a while dodged a bit. The graduation exam has finally arrived. Indeed, quite a few people in Wooen's class have become the backbone of Konoha in the future, so after 2 years, more than half of them have applied for early graduation. When Shirihong was sent to the school gate, Wooen happened to see many familiar faces who came to take the early graduation exam: Shiranui Genma, Might Guy, Rin Nohara, Ebisu. "Look, and I will catch up with you soon." Might Guy raised his thumb at Wooen, flashing his big white fang. "That's really exciting." Wooen has long been accustomed to Might Guy's second act. "And I'm going in." Yurihong waved his hand to Wooen and entered the school with Lin Nohara and Shizun, the 2 closest classmates in the class. When Wooen was ready to return to the public training ground next to the river as usual, and enter the illusory realm of the system to practice, I found an interesting scene. Uchiha Obito, wearing goggles on his forehead, is supporting an old lady, walking all the way to the entrance of Konoha Hospital. The old lady gave him a candy back. Hey, after being praised, Obito touched the back of his head embarrassedly. "Did you not take the graduation exam?" Obito at the end of the crane. Hearing the voice, Obito first resolutely retorted and shouted, "I am not the tail of a crane." When he saw Wooen, Obito was taken aback, then his face was shocked and said, "Yes, graduation exam. I'm going to be late." After speaking, Obito had no time to argue with Wooen, and ran towards the school without a word. Seeing how the future big ninja boss looks like this, Wooen couldn't help laughing twice. At this moment, a burst of energy came from the direction Obito had left, causing Wooen to subconsciously frown and look in that direction. It is located in the border area of the land in the north of the country of fire. In an underground grotto, an unidentified human body with a white clay body emerged from the wall. From sitting on the withered wood throne, an elderly man with gray hair and waist and wrinkles said, "Master Madara, I found a little guy from the Uchiha clan who meets your standards." This person, the undead of Uchiha, used to stand at the pinnacle of the ninja world. But the ghost that everyone in the world thought he was dead Uchiha Madara. Oh, Madara raised her brow. Next, White Zetsu gave Madara a detailed explanation of the situation of Uchiha Obito that he had secretly observed during this period. After listening, Madara nodded approvingly. "Well, it is indeed a very suitable candidate." White Zetsu said again, I also met another kid, and seemed to be aware of my existence." Madara's expression stagnated again. You know, with White Zetsu's hidden ability, it is difficult to detect him unless he reaches the level of Senju Tobirama. In Madara's perception, after the death of Senju Tobirama and Senju Hashirama, there is no such level of perception ninja in the world. "Which family is he from?" Madara asked. Orphans of civilian origin are extremely good at physical skills, and they have the ability to deal with Jonin at the age of 6. White Zetsu Kaido. There was a trace of consternation on Madara's old face. Even he or Senju Hashirama did not have the power to fight Jonin when he was 6 years old. "Do you need to focus on surveillance?" White Zetsu asked for instructions. Madara thought for a second. "Kaido, no, just pay attention to it. Now your main energy is still on Nagato and the kid named Obito." Although Wuon's talent now displayed is terrifying, it is not enough for Madara to take it seriously. Although it is cruel to civilian ninjas, in this ninja world, if there is no strong blood inheritance boundary, or in other words, it is not in touch with the bloodline of Sage of Six Paths. In this life, the top is the pinnacle of cage level. To break through cage level, reach the level of 6 paths throughout the entire original work, Naruto, Sasuke, Uchiha Madara, Senju Hashirama, these reincarnated sons of luck. Needless to say, Uchiha Obito, the Otsutsuki clan, which is not related to the direct blood of Sage of Six Paths. Looking back at those civilian ninjas who have no blood, standing on top of the apex is nothing more than Jiraiya, Might Guy, Third Raikage, White Fang, and others. Their life is the pinnacle of cage level. Might Guy also only relied on the dead end of 8 inner gates to become a short-lived one. To be honest, with Uchiha Madara's vision, he doesn't need to care too much for someone who has not broken through cage level. To die is the pinnacle of cage level. This world is so unfair. White Zetsu nodded and disappeared into the wall. Uchiha Madara enters the dormant sleep, waiting for his stand-in to grow. At the same time, Wuon also guessed that the mysterious aura behind Obito is probably White Zetsu. Unexpectedly, Uchiha Madara's surveillance of Obito came so early, but now he can do nothing except to enhance his own strength. Not to mention the opposition to Uchiha Madara, who stands at the top level of the world, under the shade of the public training ground by the river. To outsiders, Wuon is just sitting in the shade of a tree and meditating. In fact, he was in the spiritual world, fighting against different opponents that Garp had encountered. At this time, Wuon is facing a famous opponent in the illusory realm, One Piece's right arm, Pluton Rayleigh. Of course, it is not Rayleigh in his peak state, but Rayleigh who has not fully grown up in his youth. That fierce sword spirit is not inferior to any ninjutsu, combined with good physical skills. Even Rayleigh, who has not grown up, has caused Wuon to suffer a lot. When Wuon opened his eyes, he found that half of the sun, which was originally high in the sun, had fallen to the horizon. Achieved the daily achievement Devil Training Template Character Monkey D. Garp. Completion rate 26.3%. Although it is really incomparable with the war era, the speed is indeed dissatisfied. At this time, Red Girl should almost finish the exam. Wuon got up and squeezed his sour feet, making a crack of bone and joints. After washing his head with a lot of sweat with river water, he ran towards the ninja school. When Wuon came to the ninja school, seeing the forehead protector on Yurihong's forehead, he knew the result without asking. The surrounding Might Guy, Rin Nohara, Shiranui Genma and others tied to their foreheads or forehead protectors tied to their arms, also showing the results of their assessment. Walking over and rubbing the black curly hair similar to her in Yurihong's timid and dependent eyes, Wuon happened to see Uchiha Obito, who had just come out of the school gate, holding the forehead protector in his hand, and shouting happily, "Wow, can you all pass?" Wuon didn't mean to laugh, but simply sighed. After all, how strong Obito is, everyone knows it. And, don't underestimate me, you fellow. I have tried hard to cultivate too, Obito retorted furiously. In order to celebrate Yurihong's success as genin, Yuri Genhong put down his work and cooks for her daughter. Shirihong's mother passed away shortly after she was born. His big man brought Shirihong from a baby to the present, and his craftsmanship would not be bad, because Tsunade helped Tsunade settle the gambling debts yesterday. The woman did not change her life and ran to bed again, so Wuon came here too, sitting next to his precious daughter under the eyes of Yuri Genhong, trying to kill, and unceremoniously put a plate of braised pork into her bowl. And it wasn't Wuon who drove it by himself. It was Shirihong who picked up the plate and drove it into his bowl. To be honest, Yuri Zhenhong doesn't have much demand for her daughter's future spouse. As long as his daughter likes it, he doesn't mind even if it is a commoner. But that is also a future thing. It is said that the daughter is the little padded jacket of the father, but the padded jacket has only been covered for so many years before being snatched away. Which dad is not angry? Early the next morning, Wooen went to the ninja school with Shirihong. What needs to be done is Konoha Genin's tradition sorting. Coincidentally, on the way, Wooen also met Kakashi, who was also preparing to enter school. Like Wooen, the two team took the Chunin exam last year. At this time, both of them were Chunin. You also come to participate in the placement. Kakashi frowned curiously. He came down on the advice of his father, White Fang. Although his personality is not so extreme, the expression that everyone owes him and the arrogance of a genius who is not from the Uchiha clan but is very similar to the Uchiha clan makes Kakashi always unable to join the regular troops whose members are generally older than him. In layman's terms, his character is too bad. At the same suggestion from Sarutobi Hiruzen and White Fang, it was finally decided that Kakashi would be packed back to the school and let him form a team with his peers. Needless to say, Wooen can guess this. I started to sympathize with the two people who teamed up with you, Wooen Tan Xiao said. Kakashi hummed heavily, stopped talking, and walked into the classroom quickly. Really, can't you speak well? Shirihong was a little speechless. Every time Wooen and Kakashi meet, both are the result. Wooen shrugged and said that it was impossible, and immediately entered the classroom with Shirihong. When Kakashi and Wooen, who have officially become Chunin, entered the classroom one after another, the class couldn't help but exclaim. At the same time, many people secretly expect that they can be grouped with these two people. After all, there is a Chunin-level teammate to form a team. No matter what you do in the future, it will be much more convenient, right? Don't let me be with that guy, let me be on the team with Linear. When passing by Uchiha Obito, who was rarely late, Wooen and Shirihong could even hear the thoughts of this guy. And his goddess is still staring at others. Why bother? Dude. Wooen couldn't help but patted Obito's shoulder. Cut, what do you know? Obito shrugged and avoided Wooen's hand, and when he saw the opponent who was always followed by Yurihong, he often showed envy. If Lin followed her like the other party, she would be willing to die for 10 years. Seeing him like this, Wooen didn't want to say anything, and found the position by the window where he sat 2 years ago. Shirihong, who was sitting next to him, had a whim, and mysteriously asked Wooen, now, if my relationship with you becomes like Lin and Obito, what will you do? Obito likes Lin, and although Lin treats Obito very well, but her heart is not on him, Shirihong has seen this very early. She suddenly wondered what kind of relationship she would become with Wooen. What would he do? Me? I'll get on the ship first and then make up for the ticket. Wooen didn't even think about it. Obito, who was sitting in front of Wooen, heard these words and spit out on the spot. What? Obito, are you going to do that too? Wooen asked amusedly. What are you kidding? I'm not as nasty as you. Obito turned his head and growled. And Shirihong blinked her eyes as if she was confused. Get on the boat first and then make up for the ticket? What does that mean? You know it when you grow up. Wooen squeezed her face and said. At this time, the head teacher, who had not seen me for the first time in 2 years, walked in, interrupted the noise in the classroom, and said, Okay, everyone, be quiet, now I will announce the group. Suddenly, the class fell silent. Many people glanced at the person they wanted to team up with the leftover light of anticipation. Wooen and Kakashi have received the most attention. Might Guy, Shiranui Genma, Ebisu, Sarutobi Asuma, Kamatsuki Izumo, Ganko Iron, Uchiha Obito, Nohara Linear, Heitei Kakashi. Uchiha Obito, who had just gotten into ecstasy when he heard the names of himself and Lin line up together, suddenly roared when he heard the name of the last Kakashi. Teacher, why should I team up with this nasty guy? Shut up, the tail of the crane, I don't want to team up with you. Kakashi retorted indifferently. Okay, don't quarrel. Nohara Lin immediately became a peacemaker. The head teacher glared at Obito at the tail of the crane, and shouted, We distribute this way to balance the strength of each group. Kakashi is already Chunin, and Obito, you are still the tail of the crane, you know, ha 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 ha. Many people in the class burst into laughter, and Obito sat down with a flushed face. The head teacher said, the last group, Wooen, Yurihong, and Kato Shizun. What I said to the head teacher is correct, the grouping is to average the strength of each group. After all, there are no such special characters as Ino, Shika, Cho, Uchiha, and Hyuga in this year. The genius Kakashi adds Obito on the tail of the crane, which is really balanced. Kato Shizun, although not the tail of a crane, is because she is a medical ninja and is not a combat type. If you really want to start the fight, I am afraid that it is not Uchiha Obito's opponent. Wooen is a physique madman, and Shirihong is a descendant of a phantom ninja, plus a medical ninja. It is also very suitable. After announcing the completion of the classification, the head teacher said a few words of encouragement and left. After that, Jonin, the guide of each group, came one after another and led the team away. One of the most impressive is naturally Namikaze Minato. He is 18 years old this year, he is about to be promoted to cage level, right? After specially waved hello to Wooen, Namikaze Minato also took Kakashi and the three to leave. Finally, after waiting for about 20 minutes, Tsunade arrived late. "Ah, hello, I am your guide Jonin, come with me," Tsunade said lazily and not waking up. "Master Tsunade." Both Yurihong and Shizun were surprised, and then they shouted in admiration. "You were late for almost half an hour, did you gamble all night last night?" Wooen contemptuously said. "Ah ha ha dash," Tsunade laughed dryly, trying to ease the embarrassment, and quietly glared at Wu An. He didn't take care of the teacher's face so much. "If it weren't for you kid, I wouldn't bother to be a guide Jonin." As the Princess Konoha, Tsunade brought the three of them to Konoha Back Mountain where the whole Konoha can be seen. From here, the whole Konoha can be seen. All in all, first introduce myself. My name is Senju Tsunade. Well, I don't think I need to talk nonsense about my identity. What I like is gambling and researching medical ninjutsu. What I hate, it should be a disgusting person like Jiraiya. Tsunade introduced it carelessly. My favorite food is wine and grilled chicken, I hate sweets, my dream for the future. After hesitating for 2 seconds, Tsunade said, it should be the god of gamblers. Then this dream will never be realized in a lifetime. Wooen said abruptly. "Shut up, dead boy," Tsunade scolded angrily. "Can't this kid save himself some face in front of the students? Okay, you will be the first one next." Tsunade retaliated against Wu Ani. Wooen pointed to himself, and then said without hesitation, "Wooen, what I like is strength and beautiful women, and my dreams in the future are mainly these two. There are basically no disgusting foods, as long as they are delicious enough." N.S. Vulgar, Tsunade sneered. "Cut, is it elegant to be a Hokage? Then Danzo is not so elegant." Wooen tilted his head and leaned directly on Shirihong's fragrant shoulder, with a salted fish posture. Being like this in the public, Shirihong was embarrassed and blushed at the same time. However, like Shizun, there are some doubts about who Wooen refers to as Danzo. Too lazy to care about Wooen's appearance, Tsunade turned his attention to the other two girls. "My name is Yurihong. I like foods with heavy flavors. I don't like desserts very much. I am good at illusion arts. I hope to become a ninja like Tsunade-sama." After Hong finished speaking, Shizun couldn't wait to say, "My name is Kato Shizun. My favorite food is rice. I don't like meat. I also dream of becoming a ninja like Tsunade-sama. Although I have had enough of the worship of the village Chunin," Tsunade couldn't help but smile when faced with the inner longing of the two girls. "Then solve your gambling debt by yourself." Wooen spoke again abruptly. Tsunade's expression was as wonderful as if he had eaten a fly. When Yurihong and Shizun saw this scene, their expressions were full of surprise. What kind of relationship is Wooen and Tsunade? Although I heard that they are already a teacher-student relationship, it doesn't feel like it all. "Ahem, come with me anyway. I want to test your abilities first." Tsunade coughed again to relieve his embarrassment and took everyone to Konoha's ninja training ground. If Wooen guessed correctly, this is the training ground where Xiaoli and Suzuki will meet for the first time in the future. "Want to grab another bell?" When Wooen thought so, unexpectedly Tsunade suddenly took something out of the ninja bag in his lower back and threw it at him. Wooen took it easily and found that it was actually 2 bells. "Wooen, do you know what it means?" Tsunade said. "Do not know." Wooen Byakugan said. "Hey, you come to be an examiner, they come to grab, and the time limit is 1 hour. Tsunade smiled black. Both Yurihong and Shizun were surprised, but then quickly calmed down. Now Wooen is already Chunin, and Shirihong knows better that Wooen's strength is not inferior to Jonin. It's no surprise that he came to be an examiner. "You just want to be lazy, right?" Wooen scorned, but didn't say much. He hung 2 bells around his waist, raised his hand and waved it lightly, indicating that the second woman could do it. Fighting with 2 little girls is really meaningless. Rather than robbing the bells, it's better to say that Wooen simply avoided them and attacked continuously. After almost confirming that these 2 girls have the level of Genin, Tsunade cast a look at Wu An. Let him deliberately release a C, and let these girls grab the bell. In this battle, as Wooen expected, the progress of the template did not rise a bit. Okay. This will confirm the establishment of the Tsunade class. The teacher invites you to eat barbecue. Tsunade, who has no gambling debts and is lighthearted, is quite generous. "Miss Tsunade, and's appetite, is it okay?" Thinking of Wooen's terrifying appetite, even though it was impossible for Tsunade to know it, Shirihong subconsciously reminded him. "Don't worry, teacher, I have a lot of pockets." Tsunade patted the wallet in his vest and smiled. When everyone passed by a dessert dumpling shop, they suddenly heard the voice of an immature but rather bold little girl. "Boss, 10 more 3-color balls." Listening to the sound, I'm afraid it's only about 5 years old. Immediately afterwards, I heard the helpless voice of the middle-aged boss from the store, "Little Anko, stop making trouble, you can no longer credit the money you owe, go home soon." Cut. There was an unpleasant voice, and soon, two small purple-haired loli walked out of the Mariko shop one after another. They are about 6 and 4 years old respectively, and they are very cute. The slightly larger, ponytailed little loli looked upset that boss is really stingy. "No, don't be angry, Sister Anko, next time my mother gives me money, I will invite you to eat." The other little girl in the purple-haired shawl felt more mature and comforted. Anko, N.A.N. When seeing the two women walking out, Shiri-hong was taken aback, and then walked up. "Oh, it's Red. Sister Hong, wow, you got a forehead protector, congratulations on becoming a ninja." Won and others walked up and asked Hong, "Do you know?" Yuri-hong nodded and said, "Mitarashi Anko and Uzuki Yuyan, their father, and my father are comrades in arms. We have known each other since childhood." Anko looked curiously and approached Wooen to observe, and said, "You are the Wooen that Red often talks about?" Except for being tall, there is nothing special about it. It's really what Hong said. Is it strong? Girl, you need to be respectful when you talk to seniors. Wooen pressed Anko's small head, who was living around him, and slammed it twice. When Anko said that, Yuri-hong was a little bit shy. When Uzuki Yuyan saw Tsunade, she was the same as Hong and Shizen before, her eyes were full of worship. Knowing that the two little girls hadn't eaten yet, Tsunade was very generous in inviting them. On the way, Wooen also learned that these two girls lost their fathers in the Second Ninja World War. Mao Yuzian was killed by his father in battle, and is now raised by his mother. And Anko is the death of both parents. Like Wooen before, she lives with comfort money. After seeing Wooen's amazing appetite at the rotisserie, Anko and Uzuki Yuyan were frightened. After eating 30, Anko sighed or ridiculed, raised his thumb, and said with a smile, "Although I don't know how strong it is, I would like to call you the strongest in terms of appetite." Seeing Anko's familiar appearance, Wooen couldn't help thinking of her future and said, "Anko, have you joined the ninja school?" "Of course, I just enrolled this year, but I don't want to learn from Tsunade-sama. I prefer to be the kind of ninja who unexpectedly attacks the enemy like Orochimaru-sama." When Anko said this, even Tsunade was a little surprised. There are children who worship Orochimaru? If Orochimaru has not grown up, he can understand it, but now Orochimaru. When I think about it, even Tsunade, a teammate, can't help feeling a little bit cold. Orochimaru is still Konoha's hero now. In the midst of the sun, Wooen doesn't have much to say. He just said, "When you graduate, I will definitely surpass Orochimaru. Maybe you still want to worship me as a teacher." Cut. It's a big tone. Anko didn't believe it. No matter how stupid she is, she can graduate at 16 years old. At that time, Wooen was at least 15 years old, right? Overtake Orochimaru at that time? Bragging and not drafting. Uzu Zian also felt that Sister Hong, the boyfriend, was a bit too big, and Tsunade didn't say much, because she felt that Wooen could really do it. Noting the distrustful look in Wu Zian's eyes, Wooen couldn't help thinking of her sick boyfriend, Yue Guang Hefeng, and said casually, "Girl, when looking for a boyfriend in the future, remember to look for someone who is stronger, otherwise he will die and you have nowhere." Crying. Wu Zian was taken aback, never expected that Wooen's first sentence to herself was like this. On the other hand, Shiri-hong secretly pinched Wooen's thigh under the table. What did this guy say to a 4-year-old child? Nearly 2 months passed. Except for the Tsunade class which was just established, they performed a few D-level missions in the first half a month. In addition, under the leadership of Tsunade, Wooen also performed at least C-level missions. Today, even more successfully completed the B-level mission. Of course, Wooen did it all alone. But this team of Tsunade's squad, a warrior, a mage, and a nanny. In any case, the main output is N.A.N. After successfully solving the B-level mission, Tsunade called the three together, focusing on the two girls, Hong and Shizen. "You guys, do you want to take this year's Chunin exam?" As soon as Tsunade said this, Hong and Shizen immediately cast a curious eye on N.A.N. Miss Tsunade, did Chunin form a team of 3 during the exam? But N is already Chunin, is that okay? Shizen asked. It is inevitable that she would think so. One of the team members is Chunin, which is too unfair to other teams. Tsunade explained, becoming a Chunin is not just about fighting strength. As long as you pass the first written test and start from the second actual battle, even if you lose, as long as you show that you have the ability to be a Chunin, you are likely to become a Chunin. As he said, Tsunade cast his gaze at Wooen. Although this guy and Kakashi are already Chunin, they actually want them to take the Chunin exam. It's also because they want to take the opportunity to observe their strength and whether they can become Jonin. The two most special applicants for this Chunin exam are Wooen and Kakashi. Although they participated as Chunin, in fact, for them, this was indeed an interview for the Jonin exam. It's amazing, and Yuri blushed in admiration. Maybe I will be Jonin soon. That kind of thing is not important, but you can take it if you can, Wooen said nonchalantly. He didn't care about the title of Chunin Jonin. In the original book, Naruto was not a genin until the 4th Ninja War. So what? But it didn't hurt to take it, so Wooin didn't refuse either. That's it. You guys, don't embarrass me, especially not to lose to Jiraiya's disciple grandson class. Tsunade waved his fist. Then, disband, I'm going to gamble. No, I'm going to study the new medical ninjutsu. The Tsunade that almost leaked his mouth disappeared in place. But in some ways, she was right. Recently, Tsunade is indeed studying her newly developed Baihao technique and perfecting her 100 healings mark. It's just that the gambling thing hasn't fallen yet. Chunin exam. I'm a little unsure. Shizun clutched his heart, breathing a little shortly. Relax, Shizun, since we are still young anyway, we have 2 opportunities a year. Shi Rihong comforted. Suddenly, Wuin's brows moved slightly in an almost invisible arc. Almost no one noticed it, but he was discovered by Shi Rihong, who was getting along day and night for 2 years, and couldn't help asking, and, what's the matter? No, it's nothing. Wuin returned to his usual state and twisted his neck and said, aren't you going to practice special practice for the Chunin exam? Let's go. Thank you so much. With a pleasant surprise, Shi Rihong took Shizun's little hand and invited, is Shizun with me too? Ha! Is it okay? Shizun was flattered. In the Tsunade class, she is the one with the lowest sense of presence. In addition, she is even more embarrassed by the unexplained relationship between Wuin and Shi Rihong, but everyone knows well. Usually in private, they consciously or unconsciously avoid acting with the two. It's okay, let's go. Yurihong pulled Shizun out of the Konoha Shinobi training ground. Wuen's expression changed just now because he felt a trace of that special chakra. White Zetsu. Generally, it only appears in my neighborhood once a month, sometimes even several months. Over time, Wuen also pretended not to find him, but at least it means that Uchiha Madara pays far less attention to herself than Obito. The only thing I can do now is to strengthen my own strength. Anne, why are you so slow today? Hurry up. Just as Wuen was thinking, Shirihong and Shizun, who were walking in front, had already separated him a long distance, and turned around and shouted, "Know it!" Wuen speeded up a little, and walked quickly towards the second woman. It was different from the Chunin exam that Naruto and the others experienced in the future. In the current Chunin exam, there is no such thing as a gathering of examens from Shinin village in major countries for common reference. The Chunin exam is the village's own business. Therefore, when Wuen and Shizun arrived at the ninja school, the address of the first exam, they immediately found several familiar figures. Minato class, Might Guy class, Sarutobi class. In addition, most of them are genin whose average age is about 15 years old. Although there is no exaggeration in the number of Naruto's generation, there are close to 100 people. Hey, Anne, there is Red. Sure enough, you guys are also taking the Chunin exam. As soon as Might Guy, the loud voice, saw the arrival of the three Wuen, they dropped Ebisu and Shiranui Genma, who were members of the same period, and ran over. One god brings two pits. Looking at this team combination, Wuen subconsciously uttered something. Ebisu, the invincible myth, won't talk about it. Shiranui Genma, this old man, is useless except for being a referee in the final Chunin exam in the future. It is no wonder that Wuen will send out such emotions. Hey, I always feel that what you just said was not a good thing. Shiranui Genma, who was playing cool with a toothpick in his mouth, came up. Chunin is also taking this exam. It's a bit unfair compared to other candidates, isn't it? Ebisu pushed down his glasses, looking a little bit angry while looking jealous. There has never been fairness in the ninja world. With such an idea, that's the strength of that life. Wu and Tan Xiao said. Ebisu's face turned dark. Shizun hurriedly came out to be a peacemaker and said, "Alright, okay, everyone, as students in the same class, let's cheer together." Candidates are no more than 100 people, and the 3 classrooms of the ninja school are more than enough. And it just so happened that 3 people in a small team happened to separate, and 1 person in one classroom took the first written test. In the classroom where Wuen is located, his contemporaries Heite Kakashi and Kamonai Zuki. Yes, Shinayon Dezuki is the same team with Asuma, the future high-level dragon suit that seems to have not died after the end of the 4th Ninja War. Most people can't remember their names, but they are quite familiar with the 2 future Konoha guards. Kakashi, you have to write well. When preparing for the written test, Wuen patted Kakashi on the shoulder and smiled. Kakashi felt a chill, and quickly backed away 2 steps, avoiding the guy. Every time Wuen showed this smile, he knew something bad would happen. Do you want to copy my answer? Kakashi thought so. As a classmate, he knows how bad Wuen's literature is. Yes, it is worse than replacing the tail of this crane, but soon, he knew it was impossible. In the same class, Wuen, Kakashi, and Shinayon Izuki were assigned to the 3 furthest positions in the classroom. Unless it is Byakugan, it is impossible to plagiarize. With an unknown Konoha Chunin announced the start of the exam. Without hesitation, the student Kakashi picked up the pen and filled out the test paper. The same goes for other candidates, but their writing is not as smooth as Kakashi. The invigilator's eyes have been fixed on Wooen and Kakashi. These two geniuses who have become Chunin will naturally get more attention than ordinary students. When Kakashi saw that Kakashi hardly hesitated to write down, the surveillance classroom nodded secretly in approval, worthy of being the son of White Fang. When he looked at Wooen, he almost called out in surprise. Wooen's pen speed is not inferior to Kakashi, but what is even more incredible is that he closed his eyes. At this time, Wooen, with his eyes closed, perceives the direction of the Kakashi pen's flow through seeing and hearing, and use your own hands to copy the movements completely. This is what can only be done after seeing, hearing and coloring further evolve. When Kakashi put down his pen and raised his hand to signal that he was finished, he got up and left the classroom. At the same time, Wooen, who was sitting in the rear seat, also raised his hand and left at the same time. The monitoring teacher hurried forward and put away the two test papers. When I compared it, I was shocked. The answer is exactly the same, even the handwriting is basically the same. In the name column, on Wooen's paper, the original name Heite Kakashi was crossed out and replaced with his own Wooen name. If it weren't for the monitoring teacher to keep watching, he would think it was changed after copying. You didn't write it, silly, did you? Seeing Wooen walking out of the classroom right after him, Kakashi couldn't help but said. Ah, Wooen chuckled lightly and didn't answer. It's Chunin anyway, don't get brushed off in the first game. Seeing that the other party ignored him, Kakashi also pretended to be cold, and walked to the other side to wait for the test result. At the end of the 1-hour exam time, all the candidates walked out of the classroom one after another. Among them, Uchiha Obito was pale, and his soul seemed to flow from his mouth. Lin, her teammate next to her, was comforting him. With such a small number of test papers, they were quickly corrected after they were received in the office. The results were announced less than 10 minutes after the exam. The names of Wooen and Kakashi are posted on the top, particularly prominent positions. This guy. Kakashi looked at Wooen in disbelief. Not only because the other party successfully passed the first exam, but also because the score is exactly the same as his own. Kakashi certainly did not believe that Wooen achieved this result with real materials. He must have used some special technique. And Uchiha Obito finally found his name at the end of the qualified list 2 minutes later, and shouted in excitement. However, about half of the people were still censored. Seeing the backs of those staggering and leaving, Wooen exaggeratedly smiled. Even Obito can pass the test blindly, should they all commit suicide? Hey, and, what do you mean? Do you mean I'm a fool? Obito shouted angrily when he heard Wooen's words. And, Orochimaru-sama asked us to pass all the candidates to the 44 practice field. Shirihong ran over. Orochimaru? Wooen's expression was stagnant, and the research madman now probably started to research impure world reincarnation, and his body transferred these forbidden techniques. Still have time for this trivial matter? 44 Exercise Field, another more well-known name Death Forest. When the candidates came here, dressed as Jonin, Orochimaru, who had a more gloomy temperament than 2 years ago, showed a smile that made people feel goosebumps. The second test was a team station, 3 people in a team. To arrive as the central tower of the final arena is the goal. Along the way, the other teams are all your enemies. Only the first 4 groups can pass the second game. Now you go home and prepare and come here tomorrow at 10. After Orochimaru finished the introduction, he signaled everyone to disband. In other words, there are 2 options. One is to get to the tower in the center of the forest as quickly as possible, and the other is to solve other competitors as much as possible, right? Red analyzed, it's much harder than the first game. It's pretty straightforward, I think it's good. Wooen smiled. Compared to grab the reel, which is very likely to grab the same reel as his own team, Wooen really likes this single-handed style. Death Forest, 20 kilometers in diameter. There are more than 10 entrances on the periphery. Early the next morning, Jonin, the instructor of each team, brought 3 of his team members over under the orders of his superiors. Lead them to different entrances and start the exam. It's not dead. Uchiha Obito was late for the second Chunin exam this morning. It was supposed to arrive at 10, but he was forced to get it to 10:20. Kakashi, Nohara Lin, and Namikaze Minato were still waiting for him at the entrance. When it was almost 10:30, I saw that Obito was late with this jelly bean. What the hell are you? Do you know how long you are late? Everyone is waiting for you. How can you be responsible if Lin fails the exam? As soon as Obito arrived, Kakashi greeted him with a curse. Obito, who was holding the candy pill he got from the grandmother, knew that he was wrong, so he could only turn his face to the other side, and chose Kakashi's reprimand with his left ear in and right ear out. Well, don't make any noise, anyway Obito is the best without any surprises. Lin hurried up to discourage. Namikaze Minato smiled bitterly. Since the establishment of my own team, this scene has been repeated many times. Fortunately, Jonin was instructed to open the door, and he could walk through the back door openly, otherwise the Minato class would really be disqualified. When Kakashi, Obito, and Lin finally entered the Death Forest, The three Wuan have quickly shuttled through the dim forest. Orochimaru did not set time like Anko did. Anyway, he only approved the first 4 teams to pass the second test. After the first 4 groups arrive, the central tower will not accept any incoming candidates, just tell them to F***K off. After stopping for a while, Shizun asked Wuan and Kun, do you have any strategy? The core of this team is N.A.N. When Tsunade is away, everything will act according to his decision. When the team was first formed 2 years ago, this rule was acquiesced by Shizun and Hong. I just rushed towards the center in one breath. Once it enters the range of my perception, I will clean them up as the case may be. Wuan is simple and in charge. Shizun and Hong nodded. But their understanding is different. Shizun thought Wuan meant to clean up weak teams when they met. But Hong understands what Wuan means only to deal with a strong team. He is not a murderer like Gaara in the early stage, and there is no benefit in fighting for the weak. From the entrance to the central tower in the middle, it is no more than 10 kilometers. Even the speed of the Genin ninja can be reached within an hour if it is in the outside world with a clear sense of direction. The dead forest is hindered by poisonous insects and plants, but generally speaking, 1 day should be enough. The main thing that needs to be prevented is the attacks of other offensive teams. After deciding on the basic combat plan, the 3 set out again to shuttle between the forests. About half an hour later, Wuan's face moved slightly, and Hong keenly noticed the change in his lover's complexion and asked, "And, is there any situation?" "Well, a group of 3 at 2 o'clock, about 1 kilometer away." Shizun asked in the interface, "Do you want to attack?" The opponent did not release chakra, so even Wuan's knowledge and experience cannot judge how strong he is. But at this distance, even if you don't act on your side, the other party will probably find yourself. Thinking of this, Wuan still motioned to the second woman to do something. In less than 3 minutes, the distance is less than 200 meters. At this close range, I haven't noticed the approach of Wuan's trio in the rear. It is certain that there is no perception-type ninja in the opposing team. I'll give them a gift. You two, seize the opportunity to take advantage of them while they dodge. Wuan didn't say it thoroughly, but the second girl who had been a teammate for 2 years understood what Wuan meant. The 3 of them dispersed temporarily, and Hong and Shizun ran left and right to both sides. In the next instant, Wuan soared into the sky, hitting his legs with a single blow, and kicking directly on the trunk of a giant tree with the size of a building rather than a big tree in diameter. Click, click, click. Not to mention that the trunk of the big tree, which requires more than a dozen adults to be hugged by the waist, broke apart in this way. Wuan turned over in midair, and hugged a huge tree trunk hundreds of times larger than himself. It's a pity that there are no cannonballs in this world. Wuan chuckled in a low voice, and then directly threw the trunk of the giant tree towards the direction of the trio he felt. Give you a gift. It is about 200 meters in front of Wu and Asuma. Shinaiyun Chiwiyu, Gangzisha and 3 are advancing quickly. Suddenly, Shinaiyun Chiwiyu's expression stagnated, and asked Asuma, who was the core of their team. "Asuma, have you heard anything?" Before Asuma could answer, the steel on the other side smiled and said, "Where is there any noise? You are overly nervous when you are out of the moon." Suddenly, Asuma's eyes condensed, and looking back, his face changed suddenly, and he shouted, "Be careful. Avoid it." Listen to him shouting. Shinaiyun Izuki and Gangzisha also looked back, and for an instant, their eyes almost flew out of their sockets in surprise. The trunk of a giant tree with an area comparable to a school playground flew from behind them like a cannon. Even Asuma, the strongest among the 3, has no time to complete the seal. "I can only jump up with all my strength and try to avoid it." The 3 hurriedly jumped up, avoiding the flying giant tree almost at the moment of a dead end. Just when they were about to breathe a sigh of relief, one left and one right, 2 shadows rushed out on both sides. Directly kicked Shinaiyun Dayu and Gangzisha around Asuma. Boom! A second later, the 2 were kicked directly to the ground below, causing a cloud of smoke. What? Asuma was taken aback. Hello! Hearing the familiar voice behind him, Asuma looked back in surprise, but found that Wuan's face was close to him, squinted and smiled. Snapped! A second later, Asuma's jaw was severely hammered, making a crisp sound. "I don't know if it is broken." Puff! Another second passed, and Asuma accurately fell between the 2 teammates who had fainted and fell to the ground. A team of people neatly lost to the ground. It's Asuma and the others. They should have been more merciful just now. Shizun saw clearly who he was kicking, and scratched his face a little embarrassingly. All the people who took the exam were Konoha shinobi, and nothing would happen if they were to be thrown here. Wuan fell from midair and raised his head to the second girl. "Let's go." Sure enough, as expected, just as they were lost, Garp's completion degree did not rise the slightest. Among all current opponents, I am afraid that only Kakashi has the slightest chance to increase his progress. The 3 of them disappeared in place and continued to rush towards the central tower. In less than an hour, the proctoring patrol, which came to prevent accidents, found 3 people lying on the ground. Seeing that one of them was actually 3rd Hokage's youngest son, his eyes changed slightly. He was eliminated so quickly. Looking at him like this, he shouldn't be able to wake up in 2 days. After solving the Asuma class, the three Wuon quickly reached the central tower. Orochimaru, who had been there for a long time, clapped his hands and chuckled. "Congratulations, N.A.N, I knew you would be the first to arrive." Wuon couldn't help but feel chills with the other's smile. This guy doesn't want to think of himself as a container like Uchiha Sasuke in the future, right? It took 58 minutes. Created the fastest record ever in the history of Konoha Chunin exam. Orochimaru let the three Wuon enter the battlefield of the central tower, waiting for the arrival of the next three teams. On the stage of the audience on the battlefield, Tsunade had been waiting here for a long time. Seeing the three of them arrived, they enthusiastically praised the three. As expected of Tsunade-sama's disciple, we are far from it. Namikaze Minato stepped up and chuckled. "It's a pity that you can't see the expression of that guy Jiraiya. He has shown off you as a disciple in front of me a few years ago." Tsunade curled his lips. The current Konoha Sunin and Jiraiya have traveled out of the village. According to him, it was to draw material for the novel. And in the next nearly 5 hours, Might Guy, Ebisu, Shiranui Genma class, Kakashi, Obito, Rinban no Hara. There is also a group of Wuon who do not know, and do not need to know, arrive before and after. After the four groups expired, Orochimaru walked to the center of the opposing battlefield, announced that all 12 people had assembled, and explained the rules of this decisive battle. It's very simple, in a one-on-one form of random battles. As Orochimaru's narrative fell, the electronic screen on the rear wall began to flicker. After a few seconds, the screen stopped. Might Guy vs Uchiha Obito. Others can go up, Orochimaru said lightly. Soon, only Might Guy and Uchiha Obito were left in the venue. In Orochimaru's gesture, the two faced each other 3 meters apart. "Are you from the Uchiha clan?" "He is the only one in this class." Tsunade moved his gaze to Namikaze Minato. "How is his strength? Has N.A.N turned on?" "I started N.A.N at the age of 8, and I can say that I am a genius." Namikaze Minato chuckled and said, "Obito, well, it's an unexpected child." The battle begins. Orochimaru waved his raised hand coldly. He hasn't taken any interest in the Uchiha clan yet. Even if he does, Obito is not yet qualified to arouse his interest. When the voice fell, Obito backed up 2 steps quickly. Although his hands were not too fast, it was obvious that they were a skilled Jin specially trained. Fire style fire. Ah, hit. Before Obito condensed chakra in his throat, Might Guy rushed forward, screaming like Bruce Lee. The whip leg swept Obito's right cheek. Puff. Flip around halfway, and fell to the ground with an extremely ugly face. The silent atmosphere lasted for about 5 seconds. Orochimaru announced indifferently, "Winner, Might Guy." "Oh," Might Guy suddenly yelled in excitement. Puff, ha ha ha. Wuon couldn't hold back a laugh for a while. I really can't blame him, it's because the picture is too funny. It seems that a lot of practice is still needed. Namikaze Minato let out a wry smile, and instantly appeared next to Obito below, picked him up, and flashed back to the audience stage. Rin Nohara hurried forward and took out the first aid kit to her right cheek, which was bandaged by Obito, whose foot was swollen just now by Might Guy. Soon, the electronic screen flipped quickly. Second round. Wuon vs Ebisu. Seeing this match table, Wuon couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth. Although I already know that candidates here cannot make progress. But fighting against a guy who has never won a game in the original is really unsounding. Haha, there was no contempt, but he couldn't help but yawn and walk to the center of the opposing battlefield, looking at the opposite Ebisu impatiently. Ebisu couldn't help but show some blue veins in his temples. He naturally knew the gap between himself and Wuon in his heart, but how many people weren't annoyed by such underestimation? Although Orochimaru is very interested in Wuon's battle, he also knows that there is nothing to be seen in this battle, and his expression has not changed. He waved lightly. The battle begins. It's a bit faster than the previous Obito, but Jin is the same. After abruptly backing away, his hands became imprinted, fire style how. Boom, boom. In an instant, Ebisu's entire face was distorted like some abstract paintings. In the next instant, the whole person slammed into the huge statue with hands imprinted in the center of the examination room on the right-hand side, smashing the right hand into pieces. All genin, including Kakashi, grew their mouths in amazement. This is quite similar to just now, but completely different from the flying scene. If the performance of Might Guy against Obito just now brought people funny, that Wuon was shocked this time. Is this his tooth? Wuon suddenly spoke and pointed to the ground. Looking in the direction of his fingers, Orochimaru found a few bloody teeth on his feet. Haha, winner, N.A.N. Seeing Ebisu, whose sunglasses and teeth were shattered by the smoke of gunpowder dissipating and falling into the ruins, Orochimaru let out 2 laughs. Regardless of Ebisu's life or death, he directly announced the result of the game. "You kid, don't show mercy." Tsunade's body flicker technique flashed to Wuon's side, trying to give his Tianling guy a violent shudder. But Wuan shook his head to avoid him, and lazily said, I have reduced my strength, and I can't help it. With a helpless cry, he walked to Ebisu's side and checked his injuries. Fortunately, although the injury was serious, it was not an incurable one. It was far less than the future Chunin exam and almost ruined Xylee's career as a ninja. The medical team on standby soon carried Ebisu on a stretcher and took him away. When Wuan stepped onto the audience stage again, Genin in the audience, including some Chunin and Jonin, looked at him with an incredible gaze. Kakashi held the shinobi knife behind him, gritted his teeth and said, damn it, is the gap getting bigger and bigger? He has always regarded Wuan as a strong opponent, and it is really hard to accept the fact that the gap between himself and the opponent has not narrowed, but has grown bigger and bigger. Wuan sat beside Shirihong, leaning against the wall. The lover also a little bit grotesquely said and is really right, everyone is Kanaha's ninja, at least he should be more merciful. It's merciful enough, I don't know how crisp he is. Wuan tells the truth, he has never learned to play against the weak like this. Every time in the realm of illusion, the opponent he faced was a big sea thief who was stronger than himself, even several levels. The only learning is to leapfrog and challenge, and there is no mercy from his subordinates. Killing Ebisu without a slap is really lucky for the other party. Next game, Nohara Lin vs Kato Shizun. Two medical ninjas fight against each other. This made Wuan couldn't help wondering if it was a black box operation. In the eyes of a person of his level, just like the future Harano Sakura vs Yamanaka Ino, it's just like pecking at each other. After the final physique clash, Shizun, who teamed up with Wuan, a physique madman, was slightly better. Lin was in a state of exhaustion, but Shizun caught her weakness and defeated her. The next battle went on as planned. Yurihong defeated the fourth member of the Dragon Team to reach the central tower in the first round. Kakashi and Shiranui Genma also brushed off the other two dragon sets. In the first game of the second round, what everyone did not expect was that Wuan directly faced Shirihong. Seeing this result, Shirihong only hesitated for a second, then refused to raise his hand to express his surrender. Kakashi easily defeated Shiranui Genma in the second round. There are three people left, Wuan, Might Guy, and Kakashi. At this time, Obito woke up with a bandage on his face, just in time to see the result of the game displayed on the electronic screen. Heitei Kakashi vs Might Guy. After winning without a fight, Wuan once again had a bye. For the average candidate, it is simply great luck. But after the first round of battle with Ebisu, no one thinks that way anymore. When they want to come, Wuan has long been a champion. It is different from the original book, although the physical fitness of Might Guy at this time is not up to the level of learning 8 inner gates, but he wants to be better than the original. Even Kakashi couldn't help falling into a bitter battle for a while. The close combat lasted for nearly 5 minutes. Kakashi finally defeated Might Guy with the Heitake flow knife method that he learned from his father White Fang and was similar to the future Uchiha Suzuki's lightning-style chakra attached to the blade. Although Might Guy fell, Wuan noticed that Tsunade, Namikaze Minato, and other Jonin nodded subconsciously. Not surprisingly, he should be promoted to Chunin after the exam is over. In the eyes of the audience, the final is here. Wuan and Kakashi, the two geniuses who have become Chunin, are finally facing each other. Give up, I'm afraid I won't be able to take it anymore. After being silent for a while, Wuan finally said so. Although he doesn't like Kakashi very much, he still doesn't make him the virtue of Ebisu. And with Kakashi's current strength, Wuan feels that being able to increase his GARP's progress by 0.02% is probably the limit. Wuan didn't care about such a little evolution. Kakashi, who was still a little frightened, immediately surpassed the fear in his anger when he heard this, and suddenly pulled out the shinobi. I won't admit defeat. Come on. Namikaze Minato blinked worriedly. He originally wanted to persuade Kakashi to abstain, but seeing him like this now, he was afraid it would be impossible. Forget it, when it's really dangerous, use Flying Thunder God to rescue him. Smiling for the second time throughout the exam, Orikimura waved his hand and said, Finals, start. Wuan seemed to hit the ball. He used his toes to pick up the stones that he had cleaved on the ground with the lightning style when Kakashi was playing against Might Guy just now. Just when everyone, including the opposite Kakashi, was wondering what Wuan wanted to do. I saw Wuan grinning strangely on the baseball-sized rock in his hand, bone broken. In the next moment, Wuan really threw the stone in his hand like a baseball meteor. The sound of breaking through the air adds astonishing coercion. Kakashi was caught off guard. He didn't react to anything, he just felt that he was caught by someone. Boom! At the back, the wall of the central tower was shattered by a stone thrown by N.A.N. More than just a wall on the battlefield. The stone directly penetrated the entire central tower. Looking out from the center of the battlefield, a huge hole appeared on several consecutive walls, hitting the death forest hundreds of meters away. I don't know how many trees have been interrupted. The stone has been smashed, Obito exclaimed. Without notice, Namikaze Minato had grabbed Kakashi and teleported to his side. It's not throwing a baseball, that power has A-level ninjutsu, right? Shiranui Shinjian also couldn't believe it. Great, great, how strong is he? Even Shizun, who was a teammate, was frightened. Achieved a special achievement, beat 50% for the second time, template character, Monkey D. Garp, completion rate, 26.33%. The winner of the final, N.A.N. Seeing something interesting, Orochimaru announced with a chuckle. And, are you trying to kill Kakashi? After putting Kakashi down, Namikaze Minato, who was standing on the audience stage, said to Wuan with a wry smile, "How is it possible? I believe senior brother Minato can definitely save him, with your flying thunder god," Wuan Tan Xiao said. In this way, the current Chunin exam is over. As the chief referee of this exam, Orochimaru called all the candidates who were still in the exam room together and announced, even if you fail, you will be promoted to Chunin. The evaluation will be based on your performance, and the results will be announced by your guide Jonin later. In other words, even if you lose, you might become Chunin, right? Obito, whose face was still wrapped in gauze, exclaimed excitedly. Wuan, Shirihong and many others were speechless. Kakashi even more mercilessly attacked you, a guy who was defeated by one move. Don't think about it. What are you talking about? Idiot Kakashi. Obito said angrily from embarrassment. But there is really no bottom in my heart. The Chunin exam ended, and everyone left the central tower under the leadership of Jonin. A few days later, Tsunade summoned the three Wuan to visit Konoha. On the way, Might Guy was crazy holding a Konoha Chunin vest and rushed to Wuan with his nose in tears. Wuan kicked him away with disgust. But Might Guy didn't mind, wiped his nose with the cuffs of his green tights, and exclaimed excitedly, "And I succeeded! I succeeded! I became Chunin! It's amazing, Guy!" Shirihong exclaimed. Shizun next to him also had a similar look. Wuan was much calmer, and read it well, congratulations. To be honest, Might Guy's fight with Kakashi in the third round has proved his ability as Chunin. Might Guy told Wuan that in order to celebrate his becoming Chunin, he invited him to the barbecue restaurant tonight. It seems that Might Guy wants to spend all his savings over the past few years. And after knowing that Might Guy became Genin, the three of them almost guessed what Tsunade called them to do. Sure enough, after arriving at the back mountain, Tsunade immediately smiled and gave Wuan a new black forehead protector, and patted him on the shoulder again. "Congratulations, kid, starting today, you are Jonin." "Great! Congratulations!" N.A.N. was so happy as if she had become Jonin, she shouted. "Didn't N.'s Chunin exam just an interview for Jonin's exam?" Shizun was shocked. "This kid's performance in the last battle against Kakashi has proven his strength," Tsunade chuckled. Shirihong and Shizun suddenly recalled the shocking scene of the stone thrown by Wuan in the central tower a few days ago, and they couldn't help but secretly smack their tongues. Indeed, that didn't qualify as Jonin, and Konoha didn't have many Jonin. Also, read, Shizun. Tsunade spoke again. Hong and Shizun suddenly became nervous. Seeing the second girl's nervousness, Tsunade sighed, "It's a pity." Despite Wuan training, Shirihong still failed to qualify for Chunin at the age of 8. After all, a teacher who is good at physical skills and a teacher who is good at illusion, the effect is limited. The second daughter was quite frustrated, but recovered immediately. "It doesn't matter, there are 2 opportunities a year. Next time we will cheer." Seeing that the second daughter was not depressed, Tsunade couldn't help but smile. "Well, to celebrate this kid and his Jonin, let's go have a drink." "Teacher, we are underage," Hong whispered. "It's okay, no one will know if you don't say it," Tsunade said so proudly. "No, even if you don't say it, others will know it at first glance." Shizun was completely speechless. But Wuan wanted to drink a little bit. Regardless of the low voices of Hong and Shizun, he directly dragged the two of them to follow. He graduated from the ninja school at the age of 5, was promoted to Chunin as a child, and became Jonin at the age of 8. This deed alone is enough to make Wuan's genius reverberate in the circle of Konoha shinobi. More and more people are comparing him to Namikaze Minato, the disciple of Jiraiya who was also a civilian. Although Wuan's 8-year-old Chunin exam, only Might Guy was promoted to Chunin, and the others ended in failure. But in the 43rd year of Konoha and the year Yurihong was 10 years old, he finally won the title of Chunin. And, I succeeded. It succeeded. Regarding Yurihong holding the Konoha class vest that can only be worn by Jonin, when he ran towards him, Wuan grinned and put her in his arms. Successful, successful, successful. Flopping in Wuan's arms, Shirihong is still excited. Well, I heard. Feeling that even though he didn't exaggerate in his arms, but also grew a lot of Shirihong's coquettish drive, Wuan's heart moved. Her face was constantly placed in Yuri's ruby eyes, and her lips were used to stop her repeater behavior. The ninja vest in his hand fell to the ground. In the fierce battle, Yurihong was quickly taken away from the dominance, and she could only red face and let the opponent control. In Konoha's 44 years, 11-year-old Uchiha Obito was promoted to Chunin, proving that although he is not as good as Wuan and Kakashi, he is indeed no longer a crane tail. In the second half of the exam, Kato Shizun and Nohara Lin, 2 medical ninjas, were promoted to Chunin. Time passed by in a hurry. I came to Konoha for 45 years without knowing it. Wooin, now 12 years old, is already over 1.7 meters tall. As Konoha Jonin, he has never worn Konoha's green oily vest, but changed into a black leather jacket and jeans casual outfit. A sturdy muscle bulges up his clothes, and at first glance, he is very good at physical exercises. Return home from the casino on Short Book Street in the Country of Fire. To be precise, it is Tsunade's home, but after 6 years of living, it is also Wooin's home. It's done, 66 million taels, you are really amazing. Wooin walked in silently, facing Tsunade, whose face remained between 20 and 25 almost forever. Yes, some time ago, Tsunade owed 66 million taels of bets in the casino. Today, Wooin went out to help Tsunade win back the money he owed. Hey, you deserve it, I know my disciple can handle it. Bai Hao technique was basically completed completely, and Tsunade walked out unconsciously in a home outfit. Snapped. Wooin directly patted a certain position of Mingan behind her, and said in a black belly, taking some interest. Tsunade couldn't believe it, clutching himself there, and the next second he threw his teeth and claws at Wooin. Dead boy. Where did you touch it? After about 5 minutes, Tsunade stopped making noise. Looking at the wine bottles in the house and the leftover lunch boxes from the takeout, Wooin's face took a black line and said, I just walked for a long time and became messy. Are you still a woman? Heh, where did you shoot the man just now? Tsunade sneered unreliably. And, Tsunade-sama, at this moment, compared to before, Shirihong, who was also much taller, walked in, saw the messy room, shook her head and pursed her lips and smiled. Really, it really became like this again. Sometimes I bring Shizun with me. While sweeping the floor, Hong leaned quietly into Wooin's ears and looked at Tsunade, who was playing dice on his own in the next room, humming from time to time, and said, and, what's wrong with Tsunade-sensei? I don't feel very good. 8% is the one here, leave her alone. Of course Wooin couldn't tell the truth. He put his arms around Shirihong and slendered his waist. He smiled and said, by the way, Uncle Zhenhong is not here tonight? Just stay here. Really, you said that last time, and it turned out to be at night. Well, I don't know if I heard that Tsunade in the next room. In the afternoon, I wonder if Tsunade heard that. But when she fell asleep late at night, she definitely heard it. It didn't come from Wooin's room, it seemed to be the sound of eating candy. From time to time mixed with the sound of sunset red there are also a few words from Wooin's own voice. Hey, it seems that the papaya girl from the past few years is really useful. Is there any Tenten drink? Hate. It's not you, I don't like sweet things in the first place. Heh, do you think the future will be bigger than Tsunade? No, it's that heavy. Hearing the conversation between the two, let alone Tsunade is a cage level, she should have heard it as long as she is not deaf. Can't wait to get up and walk into the next room to smoke the dead boy. But thinking about it, I was afraid that I would see some indescribable scenes when I entered. Tsunade still resisted and fell asleep. The next day, Yurihong, who was preparing for breakfast, looked at Tsunade with some dark circles under her eyes, and was even embarrassed. She didn't dare to look into each other's eyes. Bad boy. I just remembered that the old man third generation asked you to go to your office today. Stop eating, get out of here, Tsunade said as if he had eaten gunpowder. Wooin almost guessed the reason, and also didn't intend to hit the gun. After stuffing a few sandwiches and swallowing his belly, he walked towards the Hokage building. After Shirihong brought the rest of the breakfast, he quickly found a reason to leave. After the two left one after another, Tsunade twisted his body twice and walked quickly toward the desire room. What? When instructing Jonin in Hokage's office, Wooin raised his brows when he heard what Sarutobi Hiruzen said. Yes, compared to a few years ago, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who has a lot of old hair and whiter hair, said, the ninja school students who graduated this year have seen a few good ones. I plan to let you try it. Although only 12 years old, you are already Jonin, aren't you? I'm not interested in being a babysitter. Wooin refused without hesitation. Well, don't rush to define it so early. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a pipe and said, these students are very special. If you look at their information, it won't be a big deal to try. Don't you be idle now. After speaking, Sarutobi Hiruzen dumped 3 graduate information sheets to N.A.N. Wooin took a look and couldn't help but his pupils were slightly startled. It's another year of ninja school graduation season. The students who passed the Genin exam and were divided into classes sat in the classroom, waiting for their guidance Jonin's arrival. Although he was only 9 years old, he was already a black-netted Mitarashi Anko lying on the desk in all sorts of boredom, saying, who is our instructor? The current Anko does not have the coquettish feeling of the future. Just simple and lively and cute. Besides her, there are 2 students left in the classroom. One is Inyazuka Hana from the Inyazuka clan who is in her class. The appearance is indeed a lot worse than that of Anko, but it is also passable. Moreover, she is also the older sister of the next 12 Xiaoqian Inyazukaga. At this moment, on the desk she was sitting on, there was a grey tuha. The remaining one, a little boy with black hair and curly hair, was even more remarkable. He graduated from the ninja school at the age of 6, almost equal to Wooen, who graduated the fastest. Uchiha Shisui. That's right, the Uchiha clan, the genius known as Uchiha's strongest phantom ninja, in the future, Shisui. This year, he applied for graduation in advance of 1 year and passed. Wow! When Anko was about to fall asleep, the classroom door was finally opened. When seeing people walking in, Anko shouted in surprise, and, in recent years, Wooen and Anko are not a majority, but they are by no means unfamiliar. Although Tsunade and Hon don't like sweets very much, Wooen actually likes them. After discovering this, Anko often leaned on Wooen, held his arm, and asked him to treat himself to the meatballs. After I didn't know how much I owed the hospitality fee, I even said I will marry you to repay the debt not long ago. Only she has such a big-hearted character that can say such things. Wooen, Konoha's strongest physical ninja. Shisui was surprised. Namikaze Minato and Mirai Shisui, Golden Glitter, Shimmering Shisui, have not yet been so popular. But the nickname Konoha's strongest physical ninja was given to N.A.N. It is quite similar to Shisui Miku Uchiha's strongest phantom ninja. Is and our guide Jonin. Anko excitedly said, "Can you ask me to eat a lot of balls without paying back?" Bang! Taking a violent chestnut directly on Anko's head, Wooen single-handedly said, "Follow me, come to the training ground." Anko Nu covered his small head and followed behind. Shisui and Inyazuka Hana with Urha also hurriedly followed. The public training field beside the river where Wooen used to stay. To be honest, I didn't think much about being a coach Jonin at first, it felt super troublesome, but after knowing that it was the three of you, I became a little interested. Wooen told the truth. "Yeah, I still remember the first time I met, and said that he might be my teacher in the future, but I didn't expect such a day." Anko grinned. "The first lesson to you is, girl, eat less sweets. It doesn't matter if you grow up when you are young, wait until you are an adult, and be careful to develop into a pig." Recalling what Anko was like in the future blog post, Wooen almost didn't get goosebumps. "Cut, I don't believe it." Anko squeezed his slender belly and retorted unconvinced. "There is no fat on it at all." Shisui raised his hand and said, "Teacher, shall we introduce ourselves? It doesn't matter what that kind of thing. It's not about getting married, knowing what those are doing." Wooen waved his hand. Shisui and Inyazuka's mouth twitched. This teacher really has a personality. The first training Konoha Genin graduated was teamwork. "Well, this is also a tradition." Wooen said, "To be honest, I don't approve of that stuff at all. When you reach the cage level strength, teammates are no longer valid." Was surprised by Wooen's anti-routine speech, but the three of them really listened attentively. "I took a sea-level mission and went to a village in the western part of the country of fire to kill the bandits who occupied it. Based on your performance, decide your future path. If you oppose my idea, you can quit now." The voice fell for a few seconds, and the three of them looked at each other, but no one spoke. "It seems that all agree, then let's go." Wooen stood up and said. 3 days and 2 nights later, in a village in the west of the fire country, when Uchiha Shisui, who was only 6 years old, was covered in blood and showed himself the years of the bandit leader, Wooen couldn't help laughing. Shisui, as expected of the future instantaneous. Anko also performed well. Although he was not as good as Shisui, he was decisive in killing, and he was merciless once he launched an attack. And the remaining one, Inyazuka Hana, how to say? Although she can graduate at the age of 9, it has proven that she is also quite capable. But after the comparison between the first two people, it seems more mediocre. And Wooen can see that she has no desire to fight. "Hana, don't you like fighting?" Wooen asked sideways. Holding the Urha named Grey Pill, Inyazuka Hana also knew that her strength could not satisfy Wooen, and she lowered her head and whispered, "Yes, Teacher Wooen, my dream is to be one. Veterinarian. Veterinarian, well, I see." Patting the dog head of Inyazuka and her Urha, Wooen waved, "Okay, retreat to Konoha." Achieved a special achievement, Shisui Apprentice, template character, Monkey D. Garp, completion rate 41.53% at this time. The system sound that hadn't appeared for a long time sounded in Wooen's mind. Konoha Medical Department. The minister is undoubtedly Konoha, and even now Tsunade Haim, the #1 medical ninja in the ninja world. After all three of the team have become Chunin and above, they rarely act together. Shizun, shortly after becoming Chunin, joined the medical department Tsunade. It happened that both the master and the apprentice were there today. Shizun blinked and said, "Is this the disciple you led as the guide Jonin?" "N. Well, it's just that I don't like fighting in character, so I feel that you are more suitable here. Because of the previous events, I feel that Tsunade's anger has not recovered yet." Wooen especially avoided her and handed Shizun out. Shizun looked at Inyazuka for a while, then nodded and smiled slightly. "No problem, leave it to me." After speaking, Shizun took Inyazuka's small hand, and the two waved to Wooen before returning to the medical department. Gone. After putting Inyazuka to the medical department, Wooen, the guide Jonin, led Anko and Shisui, who were only 3 years younger and 6 years younger than him. Unexpectedly, on the way, foreseeing the trio that hadn't been seen for a long time, Saratobi Asuma, God Moon Izumo, Gangzisha. Compared to the Tsunade class, Minato class where all members become Chunin or higher ninjas, and at least one person becomes Chunin's Might Guy class, the Asuma class is rather unlucky. For years after graduation, no one has become Chunin, but it's no wonder that Shinayu Izumo and Gangzisha are two high-level dragon sets. It was a miracle to survive the Fourth Ninja World War. Although Obito is not too dazzling, he has gradually shown his talent as a rising star of the big boss in the future. Last year's Chunin exam in one fell swoop. Asuma's scenes made many people dumbfounded. Yo! Asuma, and the goalkeeper duo, it's been a long time. Wooin did not evade, but instead led Shisui and Anko up to say hello. Asuma's face was embarrassed, and Shinyuki Izumo and Gangzite retorted sharply, who is the goalkeeper duo? You guy, we have names, Shinayu Izumo and Gangzisha, remember it. Little things, don't care so much. Wooin waved his hand, beckoning them not to care about these details. It is strange to say that Wooin is clearly a classmate and has known each other for several years. Wooin just can't remember the names of Shinayu Izumo and Gangzisha. When meeting, they often mispronounce their names. Later Wooin gave up and simply referred to them by the nickname Guardian Duo. What's the matter with these two brats? Knowing that the name is useless, the helpless Gangzisha saw Anko and Shisui behind Wooin and asked subconsciously, as the disciples who guided Jonin, Mitarashi Anko, and Uchiha Shisui. Wooin pulled the two of them to the left and the other right in front of Asuma and said, "Hello." Shisui was quite polite. "Why do you always have a bandage on your nose? Is it a lot of hair?" Anko was not so well educated, and immediately pointed to the bandage on the bridge of the steel nose that he didn't know how many years he had worn. Gangzitai was covered with black lines, and Asuma and Kamizuki Izumo's faces were slowly embarrassed and unwilling. Wooin in the same class has become Jonin and has served as the instructor of Jonin. They have not passed the Chunin exam. Although it is not strange that he has not yet become Chunin at the age of 12. Many Konoha ninjas became Chunin after they were 15 years old, but it also depends on who it is compared with. Let's go. Asuma didn't say a word to Wooin from start to finish, bowed his head and walked away quickly. When Shinayu Izumo and Gangzisha saw this, they cast a complicated look at Wooin's trio and left. "And, do you have a bad relationship with them?" Anko didn't lower his voice and pointed to the back of the Asuma trio. "I don't know if the three people can hear it. Now I am going to call me teacher." Taking a picture of Anko's small head, Wooin squeezed his chin and muttered to himself, "Speaking of which, I remember that this year's Chunin exam, there are only about 2 months left, right?" Thinking of this, Wooin looked at Anko and Shisui with a smile, and immediately caused them to have a chill. What do you want to do?" Anko, who was not afraid of the sky, took 2 steps back in a panic. Wooin squatted down and patted the shoulders of the two with both hands. "It's nothing, the teacher is just thinking of a way to make you stronger." The next morning, early in the morning, and then the setting sun in the afternoon, Anko and Shisui felt that they had lost at least 3 caddies, but it is not the fat that falls but sweat. With Anko's character, she almost couldn't help crying on the way. So horrible. Too hard. It's so uncomfortable. Come, eat. By the riverside, Wooin had roasted a big wild boar that was as big as a ox, and said to the 2 men who were sweating, and every cell in their body was sore, crying without tears, almost crawling to the campfire. Wooin immediately tore off 2 pork legs, which were larger than the 2 of them, and threw them to Anko and Shisui. I also picked up one and gnawed wildly. "Listen to me, as a ninja, you will fall into a situation where you can't sleep or eat at any time. So you must learn to eat when you can eat, and when you can sleep, you must go to sleep as quickly as possible. Red. Think of a way to get Master Hokage to give me another guide, Jonin. It's so painful. I can't stand it anymore." A month later, under the setting sun of the public training ground, Anko threw himself into the red arms that had begun to take shape and cried. Yuri Hong, who was holding Anko, gave Wooin a strange look. Knowing Anko's character, she knows exactly what level of training can make Anko cry. During this period of time, after the end of the devil training, Wooin would let Shizun or Yuri Hong come over and use medical ninjutsu to relieve their physical fatigue. After all, he was taught by Tsunade. Although he is not as proficient as Shizun, Yuri Hong also mastered a certain amount of medical ninjutsu. It is still possible to just relieve fatigue. And Anko, the girl, almost every time the evening red came, would pounce into her arms, cry fiercely and accuse Wu-An on the other side of Wooin. Shisui, holding a roasted pig's knuckle, was looking up and sleeping. "It's so noisy. Don't cry. I'm the most annoying woman crying." Wooin was unhappy and pulled Anko out of Yuri Hong's arms. In Wuan's scolding, Shisui, who was asleep, was also agitated. He woke up suddenly, looked around, scratched the back of his head, and said embarrassedly, "Sorry, I accidentally fell asleep halfway through eating, haha." Yuri Hong's mouth twitched and looked at Shisui like this. I feel that Uchiha's genius style has something wrong. It feels more and more Wu-Ana-ized. If someone from the Uchiha family knows about this, I wonder if they will come to Wuan to settle accounts. But Yurihon did not understand that Uchiha Shisui is the offspring of Uchiha Kagami, a disciple of second Hokage. Because Uchiha Kagami was a faction that supported Hokage at the beginning, many people in the Uchiha family are also very upset about Shisui, who is a descendant of Uchiha Kagami. So I don't care about him at all. In Anko's resentful eyes, Wuan said, "You two should prepare well for the Chunin exam in a month's time. Don't be ashamed of me. I have spent a lot of time on you." "What? Obviously you always dozed off in the shade when we were training," Anko protested angrily. "Whenever I and Shisui ran hundreds of times around Konoha, I saw Wuan sitting in the shade of a tree with eyes closed and dozing off." Anko couldn't wait to rush up and fight this guy desperately. But Anko didn't know. Wuan is not dozing off, but training in the illusory realm of the system. However, there are not many examples of taking the Chunin exam just after graduation to become genin. In recent years, only Wuan and the others are in this class. Although Anko always asks Yurihon to cry, but she didn't really ask Sarutobi Hiruzen to apply for a shift. Instead, she gradually got used to it. 1 month is not long. For Shisui and Anko, who felt that every day of devil training in the previous month was like a year, they have gradually got used to it in the next month. The 2-month devil training finally ended, the day before Chunin's exam. Wuan looked at Shisui and Anko at this time. Shisui already had some muscles bulging slightly. Although Anko's arms seem to be so thin, they are actually very strong. He specifically asked Shizun to speed up Anko's recovery. Although the side effect was that the growth of strength was slightly inferior, it could prevent her from growing muscles. Although Wuan didn't want Anko to become the fat woman in the future, she didn't even hope that she would become a muscular female monster. Is the woman like Harano Sakura full of tendons still called a woman? Very well, let's go. "Kid," Wuan said in a good mood. "Chi, I'm 3 years older than me, what kid is talking about?" Anko curled his lips. Coming to the examination place of Chunin again, Wuan has not seen many acquaintances this year. The first thing I saw was to accompany Ebisu and Shiranui Genma to take the Chunin exam, but they have become Chunin's Might Guy. Since the previous match, Ebisu has habitually hid behind Might Guy after seeing N.A.N. When they learned that Wuan had brought his disciples to take the Chunin exam, all of them were frightened. It didn't take long for them to find Asuma, Gangzisha, and Shinyuki Izumo, who had also come to take the Chunin exam. I was also surprised when I learned that Uchiha Shisui and Mitarashi Anko, who were Wuan's disciples, wanted to refer to. Both the written test of the first test and the survival exercise in the Death Forest of the second test passed extremely easily. But it seems that the battle for the 2 scrolls of heaven and earth has begun. The rules are a lot of trouble. But for Shisui and Anko, it is still easy. But Wuan, who came to the central tower again, visited again after many years, but in the capacity of instructing Jonin. But when Wuan didn't expect, he would meet a group of acquaintances here, a group of 4 in the Minato class. Namikaze Minato, Heite Kakashi, Uchiha Obito, Nohara Linear. All 3 students are now Chunin. And, long time no see. Obito and Lin waved to say hello, but Kakashi turned his head to the side unhappy. "Why are you here?" Wuan walked to the audience stage beside the 4 people. Namikaze Minato smiled and replied, "Our class is on holiday today. After hearing that your students are going to take the Chunin exam, Obito suggested that everyone come together." "Oh? Blinky is also interested in this kind of thing." Wuan looked at Kakashi amused. "It's Obito who insists on me coming." Kakashi immediately retorted angrily. "Who said that? Obviously you have to follow along." Obito retorted, and the two entered into a bickering event that must happen every day. Candidates who passed the survival test in the Dead Forest gradually entered the central tower. Shisui and Anko called on Wuan and ran up quickly. "It's easy, after the exam is over, you will ask me to eat meatballs." Anko grinned. "Ms. Wuan and Master Minato, hello." Shisui bowed to Namikaze Minato. "A genius of Uchiha's generation, I hope you can become Konoha's pillars in the future." Namikaze Minato encouraged. If you said this to Wuan, he would definitely laugh, and then he would not answer anything. However, Shisui showed excitement and said, "Yes, I will work hard with this goal." Soon afterwards, other candidates came one after another, but Wuan only knew Shiranui Genma, Ebisu, and the Asuma class trio, 5 of the same class. Then 2 groups came in. What Wuan did not expect was that the referee for the 3rd round of this Chunin exam was actually really red. And along with Yuri Zhenhong, there are 2 daughters, Yurihong and Tsunade. Just as Yuri Zhenhong explained the rules to the candidates, Tsunade and Yurihong had already stepped onto the audience stage. "Tsunade, why are you here too?" Wuan turned his head and asked. Tsunade turned his head aside unhappily. Wuan chuckled. "Only then did I remember that when I went out this morning, I was separated from Tsunade by a paper wall and wrapped in red cotton for a while. But there is no way. Although the previous life is not without this kind of experience, the previous life is just an ordinary person who grasps a lot of it. How can the girlfriend I have had a figure like Shiri Hong, and a personality that is compliant and compliant? As Shiri Hong's body matured, Wooan more and more enjoyed the sense of conquest produced by her submissive character. Yuri Hong stepped up and said, I asked Mrs. Tsunade to come and see it together. After all, it was an exam for N's disciple. Soon, as Yuri Genhong's explanation of the rules ended, the electronic screen that Wooan and Obito missed the book opened immediately and the list of matches appeared. First round, Mitarashi Anko vs Ebisu. In the first game, many people's mouth twitched, especially when I witnessed Wooan giving Ebisu a punch back then. Have you become Wooan's disciple now? Soon, everyone else took to the audience stage. Ebisu and Anko confront each other. Seeing this little girl who was a head shorter than herself, Ebisu pushed down her glasses. Although she is Wooan's disciple, she is just a kid, and she is also a little girl. I think I can win easily. The first scene, start. Yuri Genhong announced. Anko screamed vigorously, and rushed towards Ebisu. Ebisu smiled inwardly, it really is just a little girl. The index finger of the right hand is raised up, shattering technique. Moving behind Anko in an instant, Ebisu pulled out a kunao behind him, and was about to press on Anko's neck, forcing her to surrender. However, just when Ebisu's kunao had just taken out, unexpectedly, Anko, who had just rushed out, spun around suddenly like a top, whip his legs backwards. If it is two people of similar height, this kick should hit the other side's Yuseong's mouth. But because of the height difference between the two sides, Anko's left heel hit directly between Ebisu's feet. Click. Vaguely, there was a cracking sound. Heart-piercing shouts spread throughout the central tower. Wooan couldn't help laughing again. And Yuri Genhong, Namikaze Minato, Uchiha Obito, Kakashi and others, all felt a faint chill from below them. Immediately afterwards, Ebisu fell directly to the ground, covering herself tightly with her hands, tears all over her face. You kid didn't teach him, did you? Tsunade stared at Wooan with contempt. Don't tag me casually. Wooan glanced back. What did he teach Anko to do? Is oppression used to deal with oneself? Although there is armament Haki's reason, I am not afraid of this at all. Yes, I'm sorry, Anko didn't seem to be deliberate, scratching his little face, embarrassed. Ebisu like this obviously couldn't have the strength to fight again. Ui Mahong made a gesture to the medical team, and carried him on a stretcher again after 4 years, and transported him out. Winner, Mitarashi Anko. Yuri really red announced. Hey, you win anyway. Anko grinned and ran onto the audience stage. Wooan twisted her hands on both sides of her head. Anko, did you mean it? It hurts. Nothing. I didn't know I would hit him. Anko screamed and struggled. Whether she did it on purpose or not, the kick just now was probably enough to make her famous in the Konoha shinobi circle. The battle between them is nothing more than genin-level confrontation. Nothing as interesting as Anko vs Ebisu and Naruto vs Inyazukaga in the future has happened. It's boring to watch. But unexpectedly, when Wooan was about to fall asleep, the electronic screen suddenly displayed Uchiha Shisui vs Sarutobi Asuma. Sarutobi and Uchiha. It is said that Uchiha Shisui is the chief student who graduated this year. But the age difference between the two is too big, right? That is, a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old. It seems that the outcome has already been determined. Everyone couldn't help but talk. It is no wonder that Uchiha and Sarutobi are all large clans of Konoha. Although few people know that Asuma is actually the son of 3rd Hokage. However, because of the huge age gap, most of them are more optimistic about Asuma. After all, the two people who ended up stood facing each other, and the height difference between Anko and Ebisu was bigger. Shisui is a full head and a half shorter than Asuma. Brother Minato, who do you think will win? Wooan suddenly took the initiative and asked Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato fell into hesitation for a while. To be honest, he who doesn't know Shisui is of course more optimistic about Asuma. Given that most of the outstanding students in Wooan's class have already been promoted to Chunin, Namikaze Minato feels that Asuma is the most likely to be promoted to Chunin this year. If you lose, how about teaching Flying Thunder God to Shisui? Wooan suggested. Namikaze Minato was surprised and curiously asked, isn't it for you? Generally speaking, shouldn't this kind of gambling contract be for self-interest? Even if you want Flying Thunder God, Wooan should say teach me Flying Thunder God, right? What do I want that stuff for? I just have feet. Wooan smiled. As soon as these words came out, the Minato Class 4 and Tsunade couldn't help but cast complicated colors at N.A.N. Is there anyone who doesn't put Flying Thunder God in his eyes? Think time and space ninjutsu is not as fast as your feet? Namikaze Minato gave a dry cough and said, Flying Thunder God belongs to the secret ninjutsu developed by Master 2nd Hokage. I am not qualified to teach it. How about N.A.N. ninjutsu developed by Namikaze Minato himself? He can teach it to anyone he wants. And he also liked Shisui quite a bit, thinking that he was a person with the will of fire. Whatever. Wu-en spread his hands. Regarding this trick, Wu-en is also unable to complain about his son's almost only attacking ninjutsu in the future. Although it feels that Shisui has used it, the picture is a bit beautiful, but it doesn't matter if it's not yourself anyway. Soon, under the order of Yuri Zhenhong, the game began. In an instant, Asuma took out the Feiyan cutter that he had been using in the future from the ninja bag behind him. Wu-en's eyes were stagnant. Have you started using it now? Shisui also uses knives, the kind of small swords that are less than 1 meter in length. In an instant, the two rushed towards each other at the same time. The metal collision sound of the weapon blades collided one after another in the opposing battlefield. What a great hand-to-hand fight, Asuma guy, has made a lot of progress. Obito grabbed his hands on the railing in surprise. Do not, Kakashi denied. Uchiha Shisui is better. Obito glanced at Kakashi in disbelief, then returned his gaze to the playing field. Wow! At this moment, Asuma Feiyan condensed the wind attribute knife chakra blade, which cut through Shisui's right ankle. Obito looked at Kakashi triumphantly. Look, I said Asuma is better. Kakashi did not answer. However, no blood came out of Shisui's feet. After taking a few steps back quickly, he twisted the right foot of the middle knife. And Asuma also wrinkled his eyes tightly, and the knife just now didn't feel the pain of cutting the flesh. It seems to be chopped on some metal. Shisui raised his head and cast a look at Wu-en for instructions. Seeing this, Wu-en nodded. Shisui smiled, lifted the trouser legs directly, and removed the 2 lead pieces tied to them. That's a heavy load. Obito was surprised. Bang! Although not as exaggerated as Xiao Li. But the moment Shisui threw the load on the ground, there was also a heavy muffled noise, and the ground shattered into a clear crack. Mr. Asuma, I have to be serious. Shisui held the hilt again. The chakra on Shisui's body changed. Ninjas of Chunin and above all spotted the point in an instant. Shisui's black pupils turned into scarlet, with a black tadpole jade in each eye, reflected in it. That's N.A.N. Obito, who is also from the Uchiha clan, yelled in disbelief. No, impossible. He has actually awakened N.A.N. Are you awakened at the age of 6? You deserve to be a genius. Namikaze Minato inadvertently made up his knife. Kakashi did not miss the opportunity to hit Obito, taunting, it is completely different from the tail of a certain crane. What are you talking about? The D Kakashi. Seeing N.A.N. in Shisui's eyes, Asuma is also full of vigilance. At the last moment, Shisui was still standing opposite him. However, when Asuma's eyes were slightly emptied, he suddenly realized that Shisui had disappeared in place. Nanny! Asuma's eyes suddenly dilated, and he couldn't believe it. There was a strong burning sensation beside him. Turning his head and looking, the short blade burning with flames was approaching Asuma's shoulder at a rapid speed. Uchiha Flow Sword Yuian. So fast. It's so fast. That's the sword technique of the Uchiha clan. I didn't expect to see it on a child. Asuma hurriedly turned around, blocking Shisui's knife with the swallow in his hand. The wind and fire collided, and the splashed sparks hit Asuma's skin, and the intense high temperature made his arm shake. Upon seeing this, Shisui volleyed and kicked Asuma's wrist, kicked his weapon Feiyan away. In the next instant, before the kicked Feiyan landed, the tip of the short blade that had already faded the flames reached Asuma's throat. Upon seeing this, Yuri Zhenhong raised his hand without hesitation and announced, Winner, Uchiha Shisui. Winner, Uchiha Shisui. With the voice of Yuri Zhenhong falling, the outcome of this battle has been determined. There was a burst of discussion among the few viewers. Asuma was actually defeated. With Genin Shizen level strength, Asuma, who was only defeated by Obito last year, was defeated by a 6-year-old kid. Okay, amazing. Obito couldn't believe it. Especially seeing Shisui's eyes when he returned from single Guya to normal black pupils, it was even more envy that could not be concealed. Damn it, he didn't even open his eyes. Asuma knelt on the ground weakly. He didn't suffer much injury, but the huge blow he suffered from mental injury was not just for fun. Shisui glanced at Asuma, and wanted to say a few words to comfort him, but unexpectedly Wu-en shouted at this time, Hey, Shisui, Kana has golden glitter, said he wants to teach you ninjutsu. As soon as Shisui heard it, he grabbed the load and jumped directly onto the audience stage. Asuma's guide, Jonin, went down to comfort him and brought him to the audience stage. Shisui's performance made Tsunade couldn't help but compliment Wu-en. I wonder if your kid will teach people by accident. Cut, what would he teach? It just forced us to do the training we want to die, Anko said without a word. Snapped. Taking a shot on her little leather stock, Wu-en pulled her little face again and stretched her soft face. If you can talk less nonsense, you can do more business, understand? It hurts. Let go. The D. Nearly an hour passed. To everyone's surprise, the last final to decide the first place was Uchiha Obito vs Mitarashi Anko. The fight between Wu En's two disciples. A 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old, 3 apprentices. Many of Jonin are older than these 3 people combined. Unexpectedly, they became the biggest beneficiaries of this Chunin exam. The final result is undoubtedly that Shisui took the first place in this Chunin exam. After Uchiha inherited Uchiha Kagami, a talented new star was finally born. Feeling the admiration from Namikaze Minato and other guide Jonin, Wu himself was quite useful. I also understand why Jiraiya likes to show off the disciple Namikaze Minato so much. 5 days later, Wu was called to the office by Sarutobi Hiruzen. He gave him a small Konoha Chunin class ninja vest that can only be worn by Jonin. Wu also knows that this year's Chunin exam passed Uchiha Shisui. It is a pity that Anko failed to succeed at one time and became Chunin, but it must be no problem for the second exam in the second half of the year. By the way, Wu, I have a C-level mission here, are you interested? Suddenly, Sarutobi Hiruzen took out another task list. No, Wu refused without hesitation. Grade C? Isn't that a waste of time? Don't say that, maybe you will be interested. Sarutobi Hiruzen said quietly. What? Is it a local tyrant who paid tens of millions of taels? Wu took it and took a look. Although the remuneration is not tens of millions, but a few million taels are really there, which is equivalent to a high-end A-level mission. Find someone Sarutobi Asuma. And the one who issued the mission was Sarutobi Hiruzen's wife, Sarutobi Lake Biwa. Where is this acting? Wu put down the task list jokingly and asked Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. After losing to Shisui in the final, this kid has been in a slump for 2 days. I think his temperament is still lacking, so I didn't give him the qualification to become Chunin this time. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a breath and said, I didn't expect this kid to be furious. The next day, he lied to the guard ninja at the entrance of the village and said that he was out on a mission, and actually ran away from home. Wow, this operation. Wu gave a weird laugh. However, a 12-year-old loser and a 6-year-old is really embarrassed, not to mention that last year Asuma lost to Obito, who was recognized as the tail of the crane in the school. It only broke out after a year, which is really rare. Children in the rebellious period are not well educated. How? Can you go find him? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. Excuse me, you have looked for someone else to take a child. Although the reward was abundant, Wu chose to refuse. He doesn't want to take on such troublesome tasks. After speaking, he took Shisui's vest and disappeared directly. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed heavily. He really didn't know how to get along with his old son who was a son of a son. Just when Sarutobi Hiruzen was about to hand the matter over to other ninjas, an emergency document was sent. Call Shisui and Anko and tell him that he has been promoted to Chunin. Shisui was very excited, but Anko was a little bit upset. She was the second place this year anyway. In order to appease this girl, Wu took the two of them to Konoha's most famous sweetheart house. Not only to celebrate Shisui, but also to appease Anko. Secondly, he himself likes sweets. I haven't eaten it long after sitting down. Jingle bell. Suddenly, a bell rang throughout Konoha. Wu raised his brows. Call all Jonin's ringtones. Generally, when this kind of summoning order is issued, something big has happened. Shisui interfaced. And Anko, with his mouth full of balls at this time, couldn't speak at all. It's so troublesome. I knew I would not be Jonin. Wu was very self-willed to say things that made Shisui and Anko embarrassed. Then he dropped a stack of banknotes and rushed to the Hokage building, which had just left. After arriving at Hokage's office, the Konoha Collective Jonin has crowded the crowds here. And Wu also saw Tsunade, White Fang, Yuri Zhenhong, Namikaze Minato, and even Orochimaru, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, had arrived. Silently patted Tsunade's incensed shoulder from behind. Tsunade is a joke, and subconsciously wants to give the opponent a shoulder throw. But it felt like the other party was like a mountain, not moving at all. Turning his head to look, Wu was looking at himself with a faint smile on his face. You kid! Tsunade viciously punched the kid who was already taller than himself. Ahem. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen let out 2 coughs, so that everyone's attention was on his side, and he said solemnly, Everyone, just now Tsunagakure of the Allied Powers sent a message that third Kaze cage is missing. As soon as this remark came out, the audience was in an uproar. Even the face of the 10,000 years iceberg like Orochimaru has changed. Since the end of the Second Ninja War, third Kaze cage has taken the initiative to show his favor to Konoha, making Sand Shinobi and Konoha an alliance. Of course, many opposition parties have also been attracted. If Cho hadn't retired, she would definitely be the fiercest person to resist. But in the end, it was defeated by third Kaze cage, the strongest wind shadow in history, and made an alliance with Konoha. In Wu's view, this incident is likely to anger Sasori of the Red Sand. If his Hein wanted to avenge his parents, he would never allow Sand Shinobi and Konoha to form an alliance, because this meant that he could not avenge White Fang, so killed third Kaze cage and betrayed the village. Of course, Wuhan is impossible to say. After announcing this major event that was enough to sensationalize the ninja world, Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a solemn expression, "Sen Shinobi sent us a request for help, hoping to find third Kazekage traces in the Land of Fire, so we need to send a part of the village to investigate. And, we must guard against the actions of other countries. The disappearance of a shadow is such a thing that the paper cannot contain the fire. It will leak soon. But other big countries are knowing about this, and they don't know what they will come up with. They must strictly enforce the method." Sarutobi Hiruzen announced that there is no Wuhan or Jonin he is familiar with in the list of Jonin from the village searching for the third Kazekage trail. There are not many people. This kind of search was originally the job of Chunin or Jonin in particular. Most Jonin stayed in the village and stood by at any time. When Jonin doesn't feel so comfortable, now, Brother Minato, is there any way to reduce me to Chunin? After announcing the end of the meeting, Wuhan patted Namikaze Minato on the shoulder and asked. Namikaze Minato has a black line on his face. Wuhan never imagined that Wuhan would have such thoughts, but the corners of his mouth twitched. This, only Master Hokage can decide. I can't help it. It's okay, after you become Hokage, I beg you. Wuhan patted him on the shoulder again. Namikaze Minato was taken aback, and quickly said, "Thank you, and Kun, the next Hokage should be some of the seniors in Sunin." "It's hard to tell." Wuhan waved his hand and followed Tsunade. "Wait a minute, Tsunade, go back together." The disappearance of the allied powers made the work of third Hokage pile up instantly. He didn't go home for 3 days in a row. "I even forgot about the incident of my youngest son ran away from home." In the end, even his wife Sarutobi Lake Biwa couldn't stand it, and went to Hokage's office to find Sarutobi Hiruzen. Only then did Sarutobi Hiruzen remember that his youngest son ran away from home. After being severely accused by his wife, Sarutobi Hiruzen thought for a while, and finally led an old Chunin team set out to find. No way, now third Kazekage is strangely missing. The Jonin in the village are all extremely important combat powers. It's just a trivial matter of finding someone. There is no need to send Jonin. It has to be said that although Sarutobi Hiruzen has made a lot of confusion, the decline of Senju and the annihilation of Uchiha, Naruto's tragic childhood, etc., he bears unshirkable responsibility. But it is indeed a conscientious Hokage. It is the same as Namikaze Minato, who seals 9 tails into his body in order to protect the village. When Sarutobi Lake Biwa saw this, he didn't say much, turned around and left, only wishing his younger son was okay. The disappearance of third Kazekage was the fuse that led to the outbreak of the Third Ninja World War, and it was also the key to the future trend of the entire ninja world. Wuhan, who was traveling with Tsunade, did not go home together, but came to Konoha's largest weapon forging shop. This shop specializes in making weapons such as kunao, shuriken, and tai sword for Konoha shinobi. Wuhan and the boss are already familiar. He once heard this young boss say that he wants to have a daughter in the future, and his name is Tenten. "What are you doing here? You don't use weapons," Tsunade said strangely. Except that Wuhan played with his horrible shuriken a few years ago. In recent years, Wuhan has not used weapons at all. Only his pair of iron fists was the only one to rely on. Wuhan smiled mysteriously at Tsunade. "You'll know it later." Who is rare? Tsunade snorted and went straight out. The heat from the forge in the weapon shop made her very uncomfortable. "Boss, what happened to what you asked you to prepare?" Wuhan walked to the boss and asked. "Don't worry, Lord Ninja." The boss smiled at Wuhan, took out a huge scroll from the back room, smiled and said, 1,000 shots, one is not a lot." After Wuhan took it, the boss admired it again. "But, Lord Ninja, you are really a genius. You actually thought that fireworks could still be used in this way." I just mentioned an idea, but I didn't expect the boss to really make him out." Wuhan took out the scroll and pressed it down. Seeing the contents, he nodded in satisfaction. Third Kazekage is missing, and the Third Ninja War is imminent. According to Wuhan's memories, Yue Gakure was the first to do it, right? Although the content of the Third Ninja War is other than the Battle of the Shinsubi Bridge in which the Minato squad participated in the original work, there is not much description. However, no one can think of it. Less than 2 weeks after the news of Third Kazekage's disappearance reached Konoha, a piece of news completely shocked Konoha's senior management. Even Wuhan learned from Tsunade. In the northern part of Konoha, it is near the border area. A Chunin elite squad dispatched by Sarutobi Hiruzen to search for his runaway son Sarutobi Asuma was killed, and it was about 2 kilometers where the body of the Chunin elite unit was found. Found a teenager who was almost dying. Sarutobi Hiruzen's youngest son, Sarutobi Asuma. Konoha Umbu immediately brought him back to Tsunade for inspection. After Tsunade's examination, Asuma was operated on immediately. His life was saved, but he was still in a coma. It was too serious, half of the stomach was blown up, severe blood loss. Tsunade didn't comfort Sarutobi Hiruzen's thoughts. It's better to say this kind of thing clearly from the beginning. Sarutobi Asuma can't be a ninja. It is even possible that you will be in a wheelchair in the future. After Sarutobi Hiruzen and Sarutobi Lake Biwa knew the news, especially Lake Biwa, Sarutobi almost fainted. Suddenly, Konoha executives were shocked. Who did it? I don't know. When Umbu arrived and found out, he didn't leave any clues, which proved that the opponent is definitely a master. As an insider, Sarutobi Asuma is currently in a coma and must rely on a ventilator to assist in breathing. Wooen couldn't help but sigh when he heard the news from Tsunade. Yes, just sighing, he really didn't gloat. Because despite Asuma's various things in the original book, he really doesn't have a good impression of him. But he is not as irritating as Kato-dan. At least he didn't provoke himself much. And, shall we visit Asuma? Shirihong leaned against Wooen's arms and asked with sympathy. Although there is no intersection, he is a classmate after all. After hearing about this, Hong couldn't help but suggest. Today Tsunade went to the Konoha high-level meeting, and there were only 2 people left in the house. And Anko and Shisui are not there either. Wooen blinked, put her lips on her red lips, and said, I'll go, you stay at home. Zirion, who was obedient to Wooen, immediately took the lead. Coincidentally, when Wooen came to the ward, Kakashi, Obito, Might Guy, Kamaizuki Izumo, a lot of classmates gathered here. Are you all here? Wooen walked in and asked. I copied an apple sent by Shinayu Izumo and took a bite. After all, something like this happened. It's so pathetic. Obito sympathized and glanced at Asuma, who was lying on the hospital bed, unconscious. No, before long, you might be more pitiful than him. Wooen thought inwardly. Wooen, who do you think did it? Kakashi asked suddenly. Ask others should at least add a please, right? Wooen asked rhetorically. Kakashi's eyes widened with anger. And Wooen just teased him, and immediately said sternly, Rock Shinobi. Do you think so too? The anger on Kakashi's face instantly turned serious. In the northwest, there are only big countries that dare to deal with Konoha. Sand Shinobi is already an alliance. Only Rock Shinobi has this courage. Wooen said flatly. Damn it, we must avenge Asuma. Yes, these bastards. Shinayu Izumo and Gang Zitai filled with indignation. Wooen poured cold water on them. You still think of a way to advance Chunin? Let's talk about it. Glancing at Asuma, who was unconscious, Wooen secretly said, in this way, who will bring the 10th class in the future. The youngest son was almost killed. No matter how fair Sarutobi Hiruzen is, he cannot remain calm. However, just before the Konoha leaders headed by Sarutobi Hiruzen had yet to turn around. 3 days later, another piece of news completely shocked Konoha and even the entire ninja world. Uega Corps sent thousands of ninja troops to cross the grassy village to attack the Konoha border. The arrival was so sudden, even before Jiraiya, who had been summoned by Sarutobi Hiruzen to return to the village, Rock Shinobi launched an active attack. The reason is also very simple. Now that Fengcage is missing, Sand Shinobi, who is the Konoha alliance, is in chaos. It is impossible to help Konoha at all. And the country of the earth can be said to be a big country second only to the country of fire in terms of fertility. Third, Tsuchikage Oniki himself is also a very ambitious person. Seeing such a good opportunity, how could you let it go? The Third Ninja War, with Uega Corps' open and aggressive attack this time, opened the curtain. Because of the younger son, Sarutobi Hiruzen is very angry now. And as Wooen and Kakashi guessed, what he had most doubted was Rock Shinobi. Immediately sent his own disciple Orochimaru, Tsunade as the commander-in-chief and deputy commander, directly sent 2,000 people to meet. Jiraiya has not yet returned. Namikaze Minato, who is now over 20 and has already advanced to cage level, serves as the captain of the assault force. The 3 cage levels rushed to the front at the same time. It can be said that it is a luxurious lineup that only Konoha has come up with in large numbers of genius Shinobu village. Wooen wants to go to the front of Uega Corps with Tsunade, but Sarutobi Hiruzen did not include him in the dispatch list. Don't look at Konoha's geniuses, but in fact, Konoha is the one who has the most enemies in every ninja battle. Whenever the Ninja World War came, every ninja village aimed at Konoha. No way, who said you have the most fertile land and the most abundant resources? Who will you hit if you don't hit? Therefore, Sarutobi Hiruzen must leave a master who is enough to prevent accidents. People like Wooen and White Fang. Wooen is not as coincidental as in the novel, and he follows Tsunade as a team. But even if he wasn't by his side, Wooen didn't worry much about Tsunade's safety. However, at this time in the original work, Tsunade had already suffered from panasemia, and White Fang had also died. Now that the 2 fierce generals Konoha are still alive, they should be able to fight easily, right? Although there were 3 cage-level powerhouses Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Namikaze Minato from the beginning, leading the army to the front. But war is not as easy as imagined. Unless you reach Uchiha Madara or Senju Hashirama, you can decide a war on your own. Otherwise, the war will never end in a short time. The 4th ninja battle ended in just 3 days, because there were more than one opened. 1 month passed in an instant. Although Konoha had the advantage, it did not shake Rock Shinobi's vitality at all.